Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning. How is Susie doing today from Minnesota? Good morning, Susie. How is my audio quality today? Can you hear me okay? Good morning to Susie 2. Susie number 2. Good morning to Candido as well. ¿Cómo está? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to have you here. And one Susie is saying the audio is good. The other one is saying the audio is not good. So if I could get some more feedback on audio quality, that would be great, just so I know how we're doing as far as audio quality. Good morning to Christine from Canada as well. And I'm actually on the other side of the mic right now by the laptop, so that might be why, as I lean over towards the microphone, you can hear me more clearly probably now, right? Okay. Well, we will continue to work with the audio. I'm going to unplug my auxiliary speakers real quick. Maybe that's contributing something to the demise of the audio quality. Well, what you're kind of seeing at least in the shot right now is you're seeing a machine that came by way of eBay. And as I shared more and more progress shots of this machine, the owner out of Bronx, New York, Christopher Lockett, also known as Coach C, is kind of his nickname, Coach C. The more and more progress shots I posted of this machine from 1960, the more Christopher Lockett said, gee whiz, eBay really sucks when it comes to the quality of the machines that their sellers offer, and they promote them as fully restored machines when in fact they're nothing of the sort. And he said, I'm really glad that I found you. I'm really glad that I found Cow Country so that I would be able to get this machine running the way it's supposed to be running. Hold on one second. I just got a ding on my phone. I don't think it didn't sound like a text message. It sounded more like, yeah, it's a Facebook Messenger message. So audio's good now. Good. Okay, cool. So yeah, I mean, there was a time, and some of you may not know this, but there was a time when I sold my sewing machines on eBay, and I had a very strong following of people that would specifically watch for one of my listings, because I would always, in the description of the eBay listing, I would always include more than one audio clip of the machine actually sewing. I would also share very detailed pictures of the machine as well. And this was something, at least at that time, and this is probably going back 7, 8 years ago, at least, maybe 9 years ago, when I was selling on eBay regularly. Um, this was unheard of. No one at that time was listing machines the way I was listing them, with detailed video clips showing the machine performing different sew offs, detailed photos, close up of the machine as well. And so people liked it. And then I noticed that other people started copying what I was doing, some literally copying it. And when they would list a similar machine on eBay, they would literally post my pictures as if it was their machine. And they would literally post links to my YouTube channel where the videos were posted, implying that that was their machine sewing. I mean, not super bright folks when it came to, building their case of trying to convince folks that their machine was like my machine. But anyway, y'all get a chance to visit with each other for a little bit. I'm going to quickly cut off some more sew offs, and then we'll jump into this this eBay resurrected machine that Chris Lockett bought, and was really hoping for something great when he got it, and then all of a sudden things started going south with the machine. So all right, so I'm gonna focus on my material cutting for a little bit here, and y'all get a chance to visit a little bit more with each other real quick, and then we'll jump into some actual sew offs with this 1960 CL21A. If you're not familiar with the CL series, it came out in the late 1950s, early 1960s, and this one is a CL21A, which is basically the same as a 21A. It just came out a little bit later, and the CL simply stands for class, so it's a class 21 machine. The earlier versions of the green machines were the class 20 machines. And then there's obviously the 21Es, the 19E specials, and there's just a variety of different machines that they made in that same green series. So you got to kind of know what you're looking for and what you want when you are shopping for one of the green machines after seeing one of the videos on this channel. Just going to look at the live chat real quick. See if I want to say hello to anyone else real quick before we jump into this. I'm going to try to keep this one down to a more reasonable time. Turning the microphone towards me as I'm over by the laptop, so hopefully you can still hear me. All right, let me scroll all the way to the top of the live chat, and I'll say hello to everyone. That way I know I haven't missed anyone, and then I can turn it over to the moderating team and let them take care of our Cow Country family during this live stream. So good morning again to Susie from Minnesota, and I'm going to try to do a quick unboxing of these additional hats that Susie sent me during this live stream as well. Good morning again to Candido. Good morning to our other Susie, and I can't quite see it because it's real tiny, but she has a real pretty picture of a lady on the front of her YouTube profile thing that shows up in the live chat. I don't know if that's Susie or if that's just someone that Susie likes, maybe an actress or someone like that. And then good morning to Christine again from Canada. Christine from Canada has been working very hard, actually doing 2 different jobs to cover the cost of energy up there in Canada. Energy costs have just gone crazy all over the world. Energy costs have gone up, but in Canada, they've gone just skyrocketed. I think she said they almost doubled. So Christine has been incredibly busy, trying to make things work and manage things up there. And I'm so glad that she was able to take time to join us for this live stream this morning. Good morning to Tadell. Good morning, or I should say, Guten. Actually, you know what? To correct myself, because it's much later in Germany, it's much later in Brazil, it's much later in the European marketplace. It's actually going on early evening. So I will say, Guten Abend to Tadell, Guten Abend or Guten Tag, depending on how late it is. I think it's around 3 o'clock there, or 3:30 or something like that. So, anyway, guten Tag or guten Abend to my friend Tadal in Deutschland. And I see a new name, and maybe it's not new to the moderating team because they watch things much closer in the live chat than I'm able to because I'm involved in doing different things with the machines. But welcome to it looks like AL Cos, AL maybe Al Cos, Al Cos. So welcome to you. I don't recognize that name. You must be new to the family. It's great to have you here at the live stream today. I'm glad you joined the live chat as well. So by all means, get to know the folks here. It's a friendly group, and if you have any questions or anything, you can always ask one of the moderating team members or anyone for that matter, and they'll be glad to help you out if you're brand new to this vintage sewing machine space. So it's great to have Al Koss here as well. And good morning to Kevin and Doreen from Iowa. Good morning to Doris as well. Good to have Doris here this morning. And I believe okay, Al is from California. Susie just typed that in the live chat that Al is from California. So a lot of customers I have out in California, customers from the north to the south and everywhere in between. I've had customers from Los Angeles, from Hollywood, California, from Monterey Bay area, from Fresno, California, from the Bay Area, from wine country up to the north. So I love my California customers. Great experiences in working with all of them up to this point. So yeah, spread the word about what we're doing and let them know if they're looking for a great fully restored vintage sewing machine with a lifetime warranty. They can reach out to me, and I'll be glad to you know I'll be glad to connect them with the right machine. I get questions all the time through Facebook Messenger, through texting, through email. People will say, Scott, we know you've got the best machines in the world. Where can we find the ones that you have currently for sale? Do you have a website? No. Do you have like a marketplace where you list all your machines? I don't. What I generally do is if someone contacts me, I will try to identify by talking with them what kind of sewing they're going to be doing, what their goals are. If they have a specific sewing machine maker preference, maybe they really like Fofs, maybe they love Swedish beauties, maybe they want to go with a Japanese clone. I've got over 200 machines in my personal collection. 98% of them are original owner machines. And what I'll do is I'll pluck one of those machines from my personal collection and then run it through my rigorous surgical restorative process to get it ready for that customer to meet the specific needs that they have and the specific goals they have in sewing. I never like to do a one fits all type thing. I think those people that try to do a one fits all, you end up with customers, even if they don't articulate it, you end up with customers that end up disappointed because everyone has different project goals, everyone has different sewing objectives, and everyone has different expectations when it comes to what that sewing machine can do. And so you've got to custom fit it. Um, I've done that with customers all over the country and around the world. Some of you might remember Heidi from Switzerland that I interviewed after helping her choose the best machine possible for her, which turned out to be a FOF 332. and then I live streamed that machine and shipped it to Switzerland, and she is using that machine now and loving it because it meets all of her goals in sewing custom shoes in the Swiss Alps. And the same thing is true of other customers as well that have had specific goals. But I'm not going to know those until we have a conversation. And that's why I always say, and that's part of the reason, by the way, I walked away from eBay. That's where the machine we're going to be looking at today came from. It came from an eBay seller that said it was fully restored. Well, if any of you do Facebook and you look at the progress shots as the owner, Christopher, did, you're going to know right away that this machine was not even fully anything. It was having all kinds of issues. It had a mismatched foot controller. It had motor issues. It had, I mean, it just had a long laundry list of things that had to be done to get it back to greatness and to get it working properly. So, I always say buyer beware. Buyer beware. There's a lot of charlatans out there that know that there are passionate people about vintage sewing machines, and they are ready to take advantage of them. I'm just being honest with you. They're ready to try to, paint that pretty picture of this machine that they're offering, and being able to meet all of their goals and all of their dreams. And if Christopher Lockett from the Bronx, New York, had just decided I'm just going to run with whatever I can get out of this machine, he would have been incredibly disappointed. This machine probably would have gone back into the case and would have got stuck away somewhere, and he would have looked for another solution. But when he gets this machine out in the Bronx, New York, it's going to do everything that he wants it to do and at the highest level possible. And he's going to fall in love, like many of you already have fallen in love with, the workshop magic difference. And also specifically with Swedish beauties when they're running at the top of their game. So, at any rate, I could blah, blah, blah all day long. I'm going to now turn the live stream, live chat, and everything over to the moderating team. So, Susie and Emma, I don't know if we have any other moderators present, but you guys are in charge now. So take care of our family and watch out for the naughty folks that might try to bomb our live stream and do things that are not so good. And I'm going to start to get into this machine as soon as I finish cutting the material real quick. We're not going to be doing a ton of sew-offs with Christopher's machine. I'm going to concentrate on some leather. I'm going to concentrate on some cotton with stiffener, which you can kind of see right here laying on the bed. And then we're going to wrap this up sooner than later. I've got some customers coming to the workshop. I've got to kind of get ready for them. And I'm not going to shortchange Christopher. We're still going to run this machine through a mini sewing Olympics of denim and cotton and leather, but I'll just try to manage my time a little bit more efficiently so that I don't have someone knocking on the window saying, "Hey, we're ready for you. Can we come in? It's cold out here." I think it's only about 10 degrees outside right now. I don't know what the temperature is by you, but we have had a ridiculous cold spell in Wisconsin, and specifically up here in the northern part of Wisconsin, getting down into minus 40 degrees with wind chill factor. I think actually minus 45 degrees with wind chill factor. So it's been super duper cold here. And even today, it's a little bit chilly in the workshop, probably around 55, 58 degrees, something like that. So, at any rate, I will now focus on getting all of my other things done, and the moderating team can be available to you if you need anything. Okay, and if you need to somehow get my attention, I've got my phone notification turned on. You can either send me a text, or if you want to be on the live stream live, that's kind of redundant, isn't it? You'll be on the live stream live. Then you can also call me, and I won't show your number. I'll put it on speakerphone, kind of like I did with our friend the last live stream. And then as a reward for him calling me and allowing me to have him live on the live stream, there I go again, redundant. I sent him one of Susie's really cool hats. And once I get these sew-offs cut real quick, we're going to do a quick unboxing on Susie's latest assortment of hats that she did for the Cow Country family. And I might offer a couple of hats if someone wants to give me a text But I'll kind of bounce that off of Susie and see what she thinks, because she has to make all of these, and I don't want to be giving them away loosey goosey, and then she has to race on the other end trying to make more hats for us. So, all right. So y'all enjoy each other's company. Visit for a little bit. I'm going to concentrate on getting the rest of these sew-offs done, so we can jump into this 1960 CL21A. I'll also change the camera angle a little bit to make it a little bit more interesting, if I can do that. Yeah, there you can see the front of it a little bit better. And the CL21A does come with the largest motor that the Husqvarna factory made for these grain machines. It's a 1.5 amp motor, 1.5 amps. And after I go through and I do a complete motor service and restoration of the motor, it's going to give you every single ounce of that 1.5 amps. And that's quite a bit of power for a machine that was identified originally for household use. It's going to give you a lot of power. All right. There, I bumped the camera again. Okay, so I've got this one ready. And the only cam that came with this Swedish Beauty is cam A. So those are the decorative ornamental type stitches that we're going to be sewing with Christopher's 1960 CL21A today. Cam A is the only one. And if you don't know it about these green machines, there are a number of cams available for them. Originally, when they were sold and they were imported from Sweden, they would have come with cams A, B, and C. They would have come with cams A, B, and C originally. That was their package. And then eventually they added a cam D and a cam E. And the cam Ds are very difficult to come by. And the cam E's are even more difficult to come by. Matter of fact, you remember my dear friend Hans from Norway. Hans from Norway was on our team, our leadership team, for a while. He was helping to manage things on Facebook primarily, but also had his toe in the pond for YouTube as well. And Hans, as we got acquainted and we became good friends, and we talked a lot about Swedish beauties, because Norway is right next door to Sweden if you're not a geographical wizard. Norway and Sweden are right next door to each other. And even being as close to the original factory in Husqvarna, Hans was not able to find a cam D. And so around Christmas time, probably 2 or 3 Christmases ago, I surprised him by sending him one of my D cams for his green machine, Swedish Beauties. And you can use the black cams on any of the Swedish Beauties that will take that cam. You can use them on a 21E. You can use them on the 21A series, the Type 21s, the CL21s, the CI21s, any of those green machines that will take those black cams. You can use all the same cams on all of them. And so I sent him a D cam along with some American chocolate as well. And I kind of snuck that over the border without declaring it specifically. And apparently he really enjoyed that. But my point is, when you're looking for cams for these machines, it really is a search and destroy mission. You can check Etsy, you can check Pinterest, you can check eBay, you can check Bonanza, you can check any of those places where people try to sell sewing related stuff. And you are very hard pressed to find any cams at all that would go with these machines, the black type cams. So when it comes to, as a matter of fact, I'll take it out real quick and just show you. So these machines are incredibly difficult to come by. And this particular one right here is a standard cam A. So this would have been one of the most original cams that Husqvarna came out with for the Green Machine series, going all the way back to the Class 20 machines that came out in the 1940s. And if you ever see one of these cams and they have a letter and then they've got another digit after it, it'll almost look like an I or a 1. If you ever get one of these cams and it has a letter, either an A, B, C, D, or E, and then it's got another little initial type thing after it, that means that it's a revised cam. So they did a standard A cam like this. They did a standard A cam, and then they did a revised A cam. They did a standard B cam, and then they did a revised B cam. They did a standard C cam, and etc. So if you ever get these and you go, well, I don't need two A cams, they look like they're exactly the same, but they've got one extra digit next to it. Don't give that away. Don't sell it. Don't part with it, because as a revised cam, it's going to have slightly different stitch patterns on it than the original one. So you really have the best of both worlds. If you had, say, the original A cam, the revised A cam, the original B cam, the revised B cam, the original C cam, a revised C cam, and etc., you could actually end up with potentially, and not exactly twice as many, but you'd have significantly more stitch patterns to choose from, because Husqvarna came out with those cam revisions over the duration of producing these green machines. So just be aware of that, so that you don't part with a cam when in fact you might have other stitch patterns on there that could benefit you. Okay. So I'm going to get this back into the machine, and it's really, really important. I say this all the time. Let me actually bring this needle up real quick. It's really, really important that you always, always, always operate a green machine with a cam in the back of it. And the reason you always operate a green machine with the cam in the back of it, well, let me actually ask that as a question. Let me ask that as a question, because I brought this up before in live streams and in videos, and I know many of you remember this. You'll remember this. Got a little bit of oil on my material. You'll remember this, and so I'm just going to say, why are these cams so important when it comes to the safe operation of the sewing machine? Why are they so important? What do they do other than obviously generate the cams and the fashion patterns that are engineered into these through this little braille bumpiness that the reader finger can read? Why are they so important? What do they do? So let me set that down right there and wait for your response. Oh, good morning to Corinne as well. Good morning to Corinne. And Corinne just shared something interesting. I always say it, sometimes a teacher, always a student, and I learn from all of you all the time. And Corinne just shared an interesting fact that I had not heard before specifically, and she gave us the definition of Husqvarna. Yeah, Husqvarna, exactly. And that makes sense that it would have the word meaning of mill tied into it, because when the Husqvarna factory was first opened, it was a drilling and a grinding plant, a milling plant for making musket barrels and other goods of that time. And it wasn't until 1872 that they first started making sewing machines. So the word mill makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Thank you for sharing that, Corinne. Very, very cool. So no one is responding to my question yet. Um, Let me just tell you this, and then we'll jump into this straight away. The reason these cams are so essential to these green Swedish beauties is because by putting these in the back of the machine, it calibrates the boundaries of the needle swing. if you try to operate one of these green machines without one of these black cams in the back, the boundaries are not defined, and the needle will swing outside of the boundary, in particular to the right, and the needle will strike the throat plate opening, and actually a little bit to the right of the opening. It's almost a millimeter past it when it's not calibrated properly. So never, ever, ever, ever operate a green machine unless you have one of these cams in the back. And I've had people contact me about that, saying, I got this grain machine on eBay, just like Christopher did, and it keeps hitting the needle plate no matter what I try to do. And the first question I ask them is, do you have one of these black cams in the back of the machine? And again, because these sellers on eBay are so unknowledgeable about these machines. All they know is that they can turn a quick buck. They can turn a quick buck, and they don't know a thing about the machines. These customers will contact these individuals, and they don't have a clue. I don't know. It worked for me fine. It worked for me. Maybe you broke it. Maybe you did something wrong with it. And they'll start to accuse their customer of doing something to the machine, when in fact all it is these sellers sold a machine not even realizing it was supposed to have one of these in the back. And now that needle doesn't know what to do. That needle is swinging way too wide instead of staying within the swing boundaries of that throat plate opening. So all I can say is be real careful. Be real careful. Your passion is real. Your love of vintage sewing machines is real. And these charlatans on eBay and other places will take advantage of that, because they know that you want that machine, that you're so excited about the possibilities of that machine, and then you'll get it and it's not going to do what you want it to do. Just like this one, if this had gone straight to Chris out in Bronx, New York, it would have gone into a closet, because it would have had all kinds of issues that would have challenged him enjoying it. So I won't blah, blah, blah about that anymore, but just be careful. Be careful out there. There's so many, and let me clarify one thing in saying that, so that I don't get a note from my buddy. So I don't get a note from my buddy or his wife in the UK. Let me clarify something real quick. It's like a broken clock. It's like a broken clock. A broken clock is still right twice a day. Even if the clock isn't running, it's going to be right twice a day. And there are some good sellers on eBay as well. And one of them that I would point to straight away is my friend Alex Askaroff and his wife Yana, and soon to be Alex's son Tom, who is being groomed right now to take over Alex's business, so that Alex and Yana can enjoy the rest of their golden years. But Alex does a bang-up job of preparing vintage sewing machines, particularly the antique ones and the hand crank ones. I have a lot of respect for Alex. I know Alex has a lot of respect for me as well, and has referred customers to me in areas that he's not as comfortable or doesn't desire to get involved with. You remember the one of the gal from Virginia that dropped that 12K and severely damaged it, and had bought it originally from Alex Askaroff in the UK. She went back to Alex, and Alex says, that's not my area of expertise, that level of repair and restoration. Scott's the man you want. And that's the beauty of our little vintage circle. We have a number of very, very good restorative people out there, and all of us have our specialty areas, don't we? So yeah, don't totally think that eBay is all charlatans. We've got a few golden nuggets out there, and one of them is my good friend Alex Askaroff, that regularly through the UK eBay platform offers his machines for sale. So I wanted to clarify that, so I don't get a note from his wife Yana or from Alex, because I love both of those people a lot and I respect them greatly. So, all right, so let me put this cam back in the machine again, so it can help define those swing boundaries for the needle, so we don't have any issues with that. And if one of the moderators would type my phone number, please type my phone number into the live chat, 920-454-0393. And if anyone during the live stream has a question and you want to be on air, you can call my number if you have a question that you're wanting to ask, and that I can voice that question then so everyone benefits from it. You can also send me a text as well. I've got my phone notifications on, so I will hear it go off, and then I can read your question or I can read your comment. Or if you want to be really bold, you can call me and I'll put you on speaker, and that way everyone can say, oh, that's what Christine from Canada sounds like. Oh, that's what Susie from Minnesota sounds like, or that's what so and so sounds like. And that way we can do kind of an old radio program where you can call in and actually make your comment or ask your question during the live stream, which I think is kind of fun, don't you? Yeah. So, at any rate, I'm going to focus now officially on Christopher's 1960 CL21A. And off camera, I'm giving a quick salute to Susie and to Emma and to any of the other moderators that are present. You guys, you gals, are in charge. Okay. So I'm going to turn it over to you guys, the live chat, and I'm going to focus just on our machine now. The other thing I'll show you real quick before I do that is this is the traditional original foot controller that comes with these green machines. It's almost a bus style foot controller, isn't it? And you can see it has the royal crest because of that king's decree that originally established that drilling and grinding plant, that mill that originally developed that mill by a king's decree. So it has that royal crest embossed right on the foot controller. Now, the other way that I modify foot controllers that I supply to my customers, is I increase the ventilation. I increase the ventilation factor on these foot controllers. They're a beautiful, beautiful foot controller, as you can see, but they were poorly designed when it came to allowing that heat to escape. Heat builds up in these very, very quickly. And many of you remember Annette. Annette hasn't been on a live stream for a very long time. She's been very busy down in Texas, but she's still a dear friend of the Cow Country family. And I had prepared a Swedish beauty for her, and I sent it down there, and it was beautiful. She loved it. She was just tap dancing. She was so happy with the machine. But her goal with that machine was to do a lot of free motion quilting. And when you're trying to do free motion quilting, you really have to regulate the speed carefully. And a lot of free motion quilters are not wanting to use the slow gear on the Swedish Beauty because it throws their rhythm off. And so they'll try to meter out that power very carefully using the foot controller and sewing for extended periods of time at very slow speeds. The problem with any foot controller, not just these Swedish ones, but the problem with any foot controller that has a ceramic centerpiece that serves as part of the components in the foot controller is when you are trying to sew really slow, like a dam blocking the water, that electricity will start to back up inside of the foot controller, and the foot controller will start to superheat. It'll get so hot, it'll actually be hot to the touch. And because Annette wasn't looking for that, all of a sudden she heard a loud pop, and the capacitor in her foot controller blew. And so I always take care of my customers. So I sent her another foot controller, but the foot controller at this point I had modified to look more like this one. Let me show you. Down here along the bottom, you can see all of these 1.5 millimeter approximately holes that I added to increase ventilation so that the heat could come out. The heat can come out and the air can move in and cool off that ceramic centerpiece on the foot controller. I've added some here as well across the front. And I've also added some over here on this side as well. because this is such a closed space, it's very difficult for air to go in. It's very difficult for heat to come out. And so if you've got a foot controller like this, you can take off the bottom, obviously with it not plugged in. Don't have it plugged into the machine. Please, please, please don't have it plugged into the machine and don't have the machine powered up. But you take off this bottom plate and then you can very carefully use the appropriate size drill and you can port these holes on each side of the foot controller, as you can see here, and it will allow that heat to escape and it will allow that cooler air, that ambient air in the room to go in there and lower the temperature of that ceramic centerpiece so that your foot controller doesn't blow up if you're doing a lot of slow sewing. And it's more so slow sewing. If you're sewing at a regular speed, and you're fluctuating and that sort of thing, up and down, etc., you're not likely to experience an issue like Annette did down in Texas. But if you're doing a lot of slow sewing in the upper register of the foot controller, barely pushing it down, that heat is going to build up in there very quickly. It's just the nature of the design where foot controllers, I talk about it all the time, foot controllers are going to be the gateway for that energy flowing into the machine that eventually will reach that motor. I'm going to say it again. Foot controllers are the gateway where when that electricity, you plug the machine in, that electricity is going to flow through here first, and then it's going to be heading towards that motor. So if you're holding all that electricity back, like a dam being held back with all that water, that electricity is going to be stuck in here, and electricity generates heat very quickly, doesn't it? I just got a message the other day from someone in New Zealand. Someone in New Zealand that was facing the same challenge. They said, my foot controller gets so hot. It gets super crazy hot. What do I do? What am I doing wrong? I said, you're not doing anything wrong. The problem is these foot controllers, and it was a Swedish beauty as well, these foot controllers have horrible, horrible ventilation. You can see there's barely any clearance here. There's little or no clearance here. Heat is going to go up, so it can't get out of there. It's stuck in the foot controller, and then it starts to get that foot controller superheated very quickly. So just be aware of that. Be aware, be aware, be aware, be aware. If you've got a foot controller like this, and you're going to be doing a lot of free motion quilting or free embroidery type work where you're going to have to really try to slow that machine down, you got two choices. Well, actually, you have three choices. Let me clarify. You have three choices. You can either rewire your foot controller and go with an electronic foot controller. Electronic foot controllers do not have the ceramic components that foot controllers like this have, and you can regulate them at a very low speed, and that foot controller, because it's controlled electronically, is not going to superheat. So that's option number one. Option number two is you can adjust your routine and operate the machine with the slow gear. The slow gear, again, is actuated by pulling the bobbin assembly out over here, and then it takes that machine from full speed all the way down to 1/5. From full speed all the way down to 1/5. So if you're trying to, do some really controlled sewing, like you are when you're doing free motion quilting, that slow gear will allow you to do that without overheating your foot controller. But it'll take some adapting on your part as a sewist to get used to the rhythm of the machine when the slow gear is engaged versus when you're using it at full speed. The last option, and I would do it in any case because it's going to make that foot controller operate at a cooler temperature, is you can very carefully do what I've done with this one, and you can port these holes on all sides of the foot controller to allow that heat to escape and to allow that cooler air, that ambient air in the room, to work its way into that foot controller and wick that heat away so that your capacitor doesn't blow. Okay? So I wanted to show this to you as well, just because this is something that I'm not aware of anyone else in the world that's doing it. And I base that off of talking to people about this, and they'll be like, I never thought to do that. I never thought to do that. But it's like I've said before, if you've got a good idea, don't keep it to yourself. If you've got some valuable information, share it, give it away. Just like the folks, remember I talked about Volvo. When Volvo developed the contemporary style seatbelt that's used in pretty much any car you see today, that 3-point seatbelt. Originally, seatbelts only went against your tummy, and then they added that 3-point seatbelt that would lock if you stopped really quickly. That was Volvo. Volvo out of Sweden. Volvo out of Sweden, the same country that made this sewing machine. They were the ones that developed that seatbelt. And when they submitted their patent, I shared this with you in the other live stream, but if you weren't there, you didn't hear it. They submitted their patent as an open-ended patent, which means anyone in the world that made cars could steal their idea of that new improved seatbelt that is still used in cars today. And they wouldn't have to pay Volvo a penny. It was given away for free because it was that important to keep people safe and to save lives. So if you've got a great idea, give it away. Give it away. Don't be concerned about getting credit for it. Don't be concerned about getting money for it. Just give it away, especially if it relates to safety. And this is a safety issue, isn't it? Because foot controllers are the gateway to the electricity, and they can get so hot it could actually cause a fire. So use this idea, steal it, say that you came up with it. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care what you do, but I would definitely encourage you to do it. And just be careful as you're drilling through, because on the other side is that ceramic plate, and you just want to be careful so you don't damage anything on the inside of the foot controller, and you'll have complete visibility when you take this plate off. There's only 2 little bolts right here, 2 little screws that hold it in place, and that whole plate comes off, and then you'll be able to see exactly where that drill bit is going. You'll be able to see exactly where that drill bit is going, okay? All right. And that was a text message. So let me check that text message real quick to see if I need to respond to anything. Okay, so Susie from Minnesota just sent me a text, one of my leadership team members, and she said Candido is asking if you have ever covered cam timing. I have not covered cam timing. And cam timing really, when you're talking about timing, it's really a series of things on a machine like this. There's feed dog timing, there's needle bar timing, and then underneath this extension bed, you can't see it in the shot, but there's also hook timing as well. So timing is really multifaceted when it comes to Swedish beauties in particular, but also any sewing machine. It's a combination of needle bar timing, feed dog timing, and also hook timing. Hook timing is going to make sure that when that hook comes around, it's going to catch that thread and you're not going to have skip stitches. The needle bar timing works with that hook timing to make sure that that needle is at the right level in relation to that hook when it swings around. And feed dog timing is going to be absolutely critical, because feed dog timing has to be working almost like synchronized swimming. Feed dogs only should be moving when that needle is clear of the material. If you've ever seen a machine that is not timed properly with the hook timing and the feed dog timing, you'll see people breaking needles, because what happens is that needle will be down into that material, and the feed dogs will start to try to move that material with that needle still in the material. That needle has to be on the upswing and clear of that material by the time those feed dogs start actuating to pull that fabric forward or backwards. So it's a multifaceted approach. And that's an excellent question that Candido asked. Now, some of the machines as well in conjunction with the feed dog timing, we'll use something, and I've mentioned this in several live streams and even mentioned it recently with that machine that just went back to Minnesota, Gretchen. Some of the machines will also use a function called tri-motion feed dog movement. And that's where the feed dogs are not just moving in a singular direction, either backwards or forward. They're moving almost like a dance. They're going back, back, forward, 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 back, back, forward, 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 back, 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 forward, forward, forward. That's called tri-motion. And that also has to be timed as well with the feed dogs. And that's why I say I love people that are industrious and they're not afraid to roll up their sleeves and to get intimate with their machines. So many folks in our family do that already. But there are certain things that have a real technical edge to them, a real technical edge. And you may not want to take them on yourself. I'm just saying, you may not want to take them on yourself. And the problem with it is, especially with the ones that have tri-motion and other functions that are Swedish beauties, there are the majority of the sew and vacs and other service locations like that, the technicians don't have a clue in what to do with that. So in that case, if you get a machine that's really out of whack, you might want to consider bringing it to the workshop or sending it to the workshop, and I can address those areas that require a much higher level of technical expertise than the more basic stuff that people will take on themselves. So a great question by Candido, a wonderful question by Candido. Thank you so much for asking that, and thank you to Susie for sending it by text to me over here. So all right, so let me close my phone now. I will close my phone. But again, if anyone wants to send a message in, you can either text it to me, you can post it in the live chat, and one of the leaders will send it to me. Or if you're really bold and really courageous, give me a call. Give me a call, and we'll actually invite you to ask your question or make your comment over the phone live, so everyone can hear your voice and go, "Oh, that's what the other Susie sounds like. That's what Candido sounds like, or that's what anyone else might sound like." Yeah. All right. So let me set my phone down. I've got to grab one other leather piece real quick. I want to get some saddle grade leather, and then we'll be ready to jump into this. And I apologize for not being better prepared. Some of you that are in my inner circle, know that when I'm not doing things in the workshop, I sometimes am doing other things that relate to technical type skills as well in the realm of plumbing. And yesterday I was working on a plumbing issue, and that consumed a lot of my preparation time that I would have otherwise devoted towards getting all of my sew-offs ready. So I can blame a plumbing problem that I had as a result of not being fully prepared today. So I apologize for that. I'm also going to cut some Naugahyde as well, so we can try some Naugahyde also. And I think Emma is really knowledgeable about the history of Naugahyde, which is kind of like a fake leather. And if she wants to type into the live chat a little bit about Naugahyde, that would be fine. That way we can be reminded about the origin of this man-made leather. You can kind of see it right here in the shot. It looks like leather, but it's not. And it's got vinyl in it as well, which always kind of makes it a little bit tricky to sew this stuff off. All right, I'm going to set that right there. Get some saddle grade leather, and then we'll be all set to jump into this. Let's see. Yeah, this would be kind of a fun, I didn't plan this, but this little shape that's almost shaped like a triangle. This would be a fun piece maybe to try our slow gear on so we can have a little bit more control. The only thing about the slow gear is it uses a gear reduction, almost like a 10-speed bike, to slow the machine down from full speed down to 1/5. And it's more difficult to make corners, when you're sewing with it. So I sometimes have to stop, disengage the slow gear, rotate the balance wheel because it locks up the balance wheel when you're using the slow gear, if you didn't know that. And so we might try sewing this with a slow gear. And I might just have to kind of stop and start as I do it a little bit. So, all right, then we'll do a little bit of a strength test on this as well. Again, I'm going to cut this a little bit shorter because I got some customers coming, but I still want to give it the full marathon. And if you follow me on Facebook, you're looking at this Swedish beauty right now, and you might be admiring it. It's not without flaw. It's got some clear coat degradation up here on the top of the arm, and it's the patina is not perfect. But when this machine arrived, you might remember this was covered in black duct tape. There was duct tape all over this Swedish beauty. And I showed that unboxing when I took it out of the original box when it was shipped to the workshop. And I had people almost in tears knowing what duct tape will do to the paint patina. But in the Facebook shots, I showed how I very, very carefully and very meticulously was able to get all of that duct tape off. I mean, it was here, it was there, it was on the back, it was everywhere. And I was able to get all of that black duct tape off with little or no damage to the patina. So I was really happy to have that outcome after initially looking at it and going, oh my gosh, this thing is trashed. This thing is literally trashed. All right, just about ready. Thank you again for your patience. Thank you for your patience. There's our other one. And off camera, I did a little bit of sewing on Italian leather. You can kind of see it right here. Kind of bring it a little bit closer to the camera. This is an Italian style leather. It's a little bit more nappy on the back, but Italian leather, if you've never sewn with Italian leather, this is also a great leather to sew with as well. Really is a beautiful, beautiful leather to use. And Swedish beauties are very strong, so sewing leather is something you can do regularly, and it's not going to hurt your machine. Just keep your oiling in place and maintain the machine, properly, and you'll be able to sew at a very high level continuously. Okay, so let's get into this. Finally, thank you for your patience again. So in the back of Chris's CL21A, we have Cam A. But first of all, we're going to lay down some more basic stitching, and I might use my 100% cotton for that. We'll lay down some more basic stitching, and then eventually, like I did on this protected full grain leather, we'll get into some of the more decorative ornamental stitches that Cam A offers. And that's some of these right here. I kind of got them clustered in there kind of tight, but you can see a little bit of what Cam A offers. And again, this is Cam A. This is not Cam Revised A. Cam Revised A will have even slightly different stitches than this. But that, again, is why people love these Swedish beauties. Their power, their ability to do ornamental sewing, the workspace that you're afforded as well. And unfortunately, this bed that Chris got with his machine has a really, really bad damage point right here on the bed. I can kind of show that to you a little bit closer with the camera maybe. That's all the way down to the bare metal right there. But it'll still work. It'll still work fine. It just kind of takes away that beauty a little bit, doesn't it? Just a little. All right. I think I've got that angle correctly. Let's see. Right there, I think is probably even better. Okay. So let's start out with the basics. And I decided to be smart this time. You'll notice that the color of this 100% cotton is not that yellow stuff that I tried to use on Gretchen on the last live stream, which the camera absolutely hated. Now I've got a darker background, and I think it'll work a lot better with this white thread. All right, so I'm going to get that underneath the presser foot. And as you're sewing different materials, you might have to make adjustments to the machine. I'll just show you right inside of here real quick. On these Swedish Beauties, inside of the faceplate area, you've got this little black dial right here. You can kind of see that, I think, in the shot. That little black dial right there, you can either rotate it towards you or away from you, and that's going to change your presser foot pressure. That will change your presser foot pressure. As you're sewing heavier materials, you want to increase it. As you're sewing lighter materials, you want to decrease it. So, and it's just a matter, you'll know which way to go with it, because as you're rotating it, it will actually be pushing that spring up. So just look to see what action it's having on that spring, because some of these Swedish Beauties were actually reverse engineered. And on some of them, you have to push the little dial to the back to increase. On others, you have to pull it to the front to increase. So I'm going to tell you, it's not static. It's not always predictable. Just rotate it, and you'll be able to see right away whether it's pushing the spring up or whether it's allowing that spring to come down. If it's allowing that spring to come down, you're going to be losing presser foot pressure, which is fine if you're sewing something really light, like a silk or a satin, but it's not really good if you're sewing leather or something heavier. All right, one more quick adjustment, I think. One more quick adjustment. Let's see if we can get it out here. There we go. That's even better. That's even better. Yay. Now you can see what's happening over here. That's a better angle. That's a much better angle. Okay, so I'm gonna begin to launch down. We're just gonna do a common straight stitch. Get that take-up arm right here. Get that take-up arm at the highest point. So it's just beginning to go on that downstroke. That's the best way to launch when you're working with any sewing machine, so that you don't have those mechanical components binding up on there. All right, so we're going to start out real basic. We'll start out with a straight stitch. I'm also going to move my microphone a little bit because I'm going to be facing away from it, and it may be a little bit more difficult for you to hear me. So I'm going to move my microphone almost right behind the sewing machine, so I'm actually talking towards you, and hopefully you'll be able to hear me a little bit better. Okay, so a basic straight stitch. And if you're not familiar with the Swedish Beauties, let me just move the camera over real quick. If you're not familiar with the Swedish Beauties, I'll just kind of show you the front of Christopher's CL21A. The lay of the land is real basic. This little dial right here is at the 12 o'clock position right now. You can kind of see that. If I rotate it to the 6 o'clock position, turning it clockwise, it's going to drop the feed dogs. And then when I want those feed dogs to be fully engaged again, I'll rotate it back to the 12 o'clock position again. I also would be remiss if I didn't show our royal crest a little bit closer up. There's our royal crest because, again, the King of Sweden is the one that decreed that drilling and grinding plant, that mill, back in the day, actually going all the way back to the 1600s, is when that king's decree came to effect, that opened up the gateway for that Husqvarna factory to first open. And then eventually around 1872, they started making sewing machines for the very first time. This is our stitch width controller right here. Right now I've got it on 0 because we're going to be doing a straight stitch to start. You'll see that little black tab right there. That's to stop and start to do auto buttonholes, is what that little tab is for. Now, if you ever mistakenly push that tab and all of a sudden you're over, say, by four or 3, and you can't get the knob to go back to 0, push this little tab down and push it down and towards the machine, and then it will free up this stitch width controller so it has the free and full range of motion like it does right now. But when this little tab is pushed down and forward, it's going to retard the movement so you can only go about this far so that you can execute that auto buttonholer. Okay, so just be aware of that. When I was first working with Swedish Beauties way back in the day, about 20 years ago, I didn't know that. And the machine had that tab down and forward, and I couldn't move this. And I was looking for where it was bound up. It wasn't bound up anywhere. That's just going to restrict and retard the movement so you can only go about this far with it, because that auto button function is going to then actuate this stitch width controller. So on 0, we're going to get that straight stitch is what we're aiming for right now. Here's our stitch length. Our stitch length has a range of about, 0 all the way to 4. 4, we're going to get the largest straight stitch. And then as we turn this, like so, we can get all the way down into this range right here, 0.75 or even 0.5. And 0.75 or 0.5 is where we're going to be sewing our decorative ornamental stitches today that are generated by that A cam that's in the back of the machine right now. So if you've ever tried using a Swedish Beauty to sew some of those decorative ornamental stitches and you were way up here, maybe even, around 3, and you're like, boy, these aren't very detailed. They look kind of muddy looking. That's because you need to turn this stitch length way down to about 0.75 when you're sewing those decorative ornamental stitches. Okay? And just don't go too far down on it. Otherwise, you're not going to get any material feed at all. This is our reverse button right here. We just push it in, and then we release it when we're done sewing. Certain models that came out also in the 1960s, in particular the 21Es. The 21Es and also the 19E Special are going to have a 2-stage reverse button where when you push it in and you with your finger, you kind of push it in, you push it up a little bit, it's going to lock in reverse so you don't have to hold it in place. And that was really by customer request. Customers were tired of having to hold it in when they're going in reverse. And so these Swedish people added a 2-stage reverse where when you push it in and then you push it up a little bit, it's going to lock with that button in place. And then you don't have to hold it in. And then when you want to stop reverse sewing, you push it in and down, and then it lets that button pop back out again. Okay. And I've gotten calls about that as well. And I know some of my moderators have gotten questions about that as well, where someone will have one of those 21Es or 19 class machines, and they're like, it always sews in reverse. What's wrong? And it's just a matter of that button was stuck in because of that 2-stage feature that they introduced with that 19 and with that 21E series. So just be aware of that 2-stage, not on this machine, but on a lot of those other green machines, they've got that feature. Over on the side here, you can see we have numbers 1 through 5. Hopefully you can see that. There it is, sort of. We got numbers 1 through 5. In position 5, it is always going to give you, no matter what cam you have in the back, if you have it in position 5, it's always going to give you a zigzag. So right now, if I move that stitch width from 0 to anywhere greater than 1, between 1 and 4, and we have it here on number 5, it's always going to give us a zigzag. That's built into that cam. And again, that cam is going to set those swing boundaries so that it doesn't hit that throat plate. And then you've got choices of 4, 3, 2, 1 that are going to give you decorative ornamental patterns, depending on which cam you have in the back of the machine. And every time you're moving this slider, you want to make sure that you're recalibrating the stitch width. So if we were sewing it right now and wanting to do a zigzag, then I would have this usually on 4. I go big or I go home. So I'll either do 4 or 3, somewhere in that range. But if we want to move the slider then to get one of those ornamental stitches, we then have to take this stitch width down to 0. And what it's going to do by turning it to 0, it's going to take that reader finger that's pressed into that cam to read those bumps like Braille. It's going to, when you take this to 0, it's going to pull that finger back so that when you move this slider, that's going to, again, adjust the position of that finger to read another part of that cam, it's not going to bend that very delicate piece of metal. So right now on 0, we should be able to slide this to 4 or to 3 or to 2. Oops, I went too far. 2 or to 1. And then we can select a different cam. And just remember to move it from 0 back to 4 once you get that slider in the position that you want it. And then before you try to push it back in, take this down to 0 again. So it pulls that reader finger back, and then this will slide back into position 5 so we can do a zigzag. So a little bit of a quick tutorial. I'll be doing a lot of that off camera today. When I'm changing this slider to a different cam output, I'll be recalibrating this down to 0 so that I don't damage that reader finger that reads over those bumps as the machine is turning. Okay? All right, let me hook the camera back up again. Hopefully I have it angled at the right direction. And we're going to focus on doing a straight stitch first. That'll be our first stitch. And a quick thing on the setup. I'll just talk about the setup real quick on the machine as well. A quick thing on the setup is when you're inserting this needle into that needle clamp, make sure that you have the flat side to the rear. The flat side of the rear goes on there. And as you're putting your bobbin into your bobbin case, I always hold, it's just my thing, but I always hold my bobbin case in my left hand. I hold the bobbin in the right hand. And when you're holding it like that, you want to make sure that the thread is coming underneath on the bottom. When you put that bobbin into the bobbin case, the thread should be coming underneath, not over the top, because as that bobbin is dispensing, you want that bobbin to be turning counterclockwise. And it's important that you do that because otherwise you're going to have issues with the thread feed coming up and completing that stitch cycle. So thread underneath, turning counterclockwise, flat side of the needle to the rear. The needle I'm working with today is a 9014 Schmetz universal needle, pretty much my go-to needle. I use that all the time, as most of you know. And the thread that we're sewing with is from Joann Fabrics, or as they call themselves now, Joann's. And it's a basic dual duty XP thread. A dual duty XP, what do they call it? An all-purpose thread. Nothing fancy, but it gets the job done very, very nicely. And again, a quick little tip to you, if you shop at Joann's, go there on the weekend. I think they started on Friday and they do it through Sunday. But they offer where if you buy 3 spools of thread, it can either be this bigger one that has 250 yards on it or this smaller one that has 125 yards. And if you go there on the weekend, you buy 3 of these or 3 of these, and they give you 2 for free. That's hard to beat. That's a heck of a deal. So I would strongly encourage you to take advantage of that. All of us are looking to save money these days, and that's a great way to save money on a good utility all-purpose thread. All right, let me get a drink of water real quick. Oh, I better shut off my air compressor too. Otherwise, that's going to go off and make a lot of noise. And again, I'm not looking at the live chat, so if you typed a question or comment, you can also text it to me or call me with that question or comment as well. All right. All right, let's lay down a basic straight stitch. And again, give this machine a listen. She is a smooth operator, as they say. All right, here we go. Beautiful, beautiful stitching. Beautiful stitching. Wow. We're going to do a bunch of stitching, and then we'll look at all of them at the same time. And if you're brand new to sewing, I'm going to let one of our knowledgeable folks that attends these live streams all the time. If you're stitching something like this on 100% cotton, and actually I can see that that's the case right now. If you're stitching one of these 100% cotton, and you see that one of the stitch lines, this is our lock stitch here, which is really a lovely lock stitch. It's quite nice, but it could even be better. And if we want to make that more defined, the lock stitch on the bottom, what adjustment do we make to the machine? This is our top stitch. This is our lock stitch. If our lock stitch is underserved or it looks a little bit weak, how do we adjust the machine to get that a little bit more poppy? Right now it's looking really good, but I'm just saying if it didn't look as good as this, what would you do to adjust the machine to get a more poppy lock stitch? Again, the lock stitch on the bottom. What would you do to adjust the machine? Type it in the live chat. All right, let's lay down a zigzag next to this straight stitch now. We'll lay down a zigzag now. And again, I've already got the cam slider in position 5. Position 5 is going to automatically give us a zigzag. I'll just kind of turn the camera that way. Yep, you can see it. So this is in position 5 to give us a zigzag. If we wanted to do a zigzag and we were in position 4, 3, 2, or 1, we'd have to move it all the way to position 5 to get that zigzag, just so you know. Just going to look at the live chat real quick. Yeah, all of you that typed upper tension, this right here. If our lock stitch is underserved, we need to bump this up a little bit. Right now we're right around on 5, and we're getting some decent balance from this. As we change materials during this live stream, as we go from 100% cotton with a stiffener and we migrate over to either the Naugahyde stuff, which is that real that fake leather that has a vinyl compound in it, or as we migrate to the saddle grade leather or the protected full grain leather, we may have to make subtle adjustments, because again, the lock stitch is always harder to define because that needle has to sweep down through the material and pull that thread back through the material. And so it's a lot easier to get issues with stitch distortion or stitch presentation on the bottom of the material. And you'll hear people talk about it all the time. You know, I'm getting this bird nesting thing going on. Everyone loves to say bird nesting, don't they? I know I do too. So that bird nesting factor is an issue either with the upper tension not being set high enough, or the bobbin case down below being cranked up way too high. Again, when you're holding a bobbin case in your hand like this and you're pulling that thread, you should only have about 3 to 4 ounces of resistance. So if you're pulling it and you're like, holy mackerel, that's a lot, that's really hard to pull, you're going to have to take a small screwdriver and turn that little tension screw counterclockwise in really, really small increments in order to get a more free-flowing thread coming out of that bobbin case. If that bobbin case is cranked way up, then you're going to have to crank this upper tension way up to try to balance the two, and it just becomes a futile battle where it's a lot easier to back off that tension in the bobbin case a little bit and then not have to adjust this quite as dramatically to get a balanced stitch outcome. I hope that makes sense. So over here real quick, what I'm going to do first of all is get another drink of water. I noticed when I woke up this morning, my throat was feeling a little bit weird. And it's because when you're working on plumbing projects, you're oftentimes exposed to those sewer gases. When you've taken something off and you have a direct portal to that sewer, that main line that goes down to the street, those sewer gases will be coming up and they can really mess with you. I tried to be real careful. I tried to have good ventilation. And I also worked with a friend of mine as well, because sewer gases can actually knock you out. They can actually overpower you. That methane and that stuff can be very dangerous. I noticed my throat felt a little bit weird this morning, even though I took those precautions. So if you decide to take on a plumbing project, just keep that room that you're in, whether it's your kitchen or your bathroom or wherever it is, keep that area well ventilated. Turn on a little fan or whatever it is so that those sewer gases don't get you. Or call a plumber. That might be even a better choice. All right. So I'm going to adjust our stitch width right here. I'm going to adjust it from 0 to about 3. And then I'm going to adjust my stitch length up here from 4 down to about 3. And see if we can't generate a zigzag that's going to be fairly well balanced. And again, I'm always going to launch with my take-up arm at the highest position. All right, let me adjust the camera back now. All right, I think that's a pretty good angle. You can pretty much see what's going on. All right, so let's lay down a zigzag now and see what we think of that. All right, here we go. Yeah. And there's our zigzag right there. It's a nice looking zigzag, but I'm really a little bit persnickety. I'm a little bit persnickety when it comes to zigzags. And I like them to be really balanced. And so what I might do is if I were going to be sewing zigzags like this all day long, which would be kind of weird. And some of you should really call and check on me if I'm sewing zigzags like this all day long. Yeah, you should. Call now. But there's more. No, what I would do is I would shorten it up a little bit more. I've got pretty much a 3x3 right now. The stitch width is on 3. The stitch length is on 3. But I would want to have it a little bit more with a peak, a little bit more of a point and a peak. And so what I would do is I would take that stitch length right up here. I would take that stitch length and I would probably set it just a little bit below 3. A little bit below 3 and give it a little bit more of a peak, a little bit more of a peak like this, so it's not quite as flattened. It's still a very, very nice zigzag, but I would do that. That's my thing. And then our stitch width, actually, now that I'm looking at my stitch width, I'm a little bit wider than 3, just a smidge. So I would probably adjust that a little bit. All right, back to the material. And I just got a text message, so let me see what it is. There we go. Now you can see that even better. All right. I think we have a question or a comment. So I've got Susie asking a question on behalf of one of our friends. And it says, on the live stream, I don't know who A is, but maybe that's Al. I bet you that's Al. There it just says A. A on the live stream wants to know how to fix when the material slides around under the presser foot. And I'm guessing by sliding around, you mean you're not getting even feed. It's not feeding the material properly. You've got a couple of options there. One is you can use a non-standard presser foot. Right now, I've got a standard universal presser foot that Husqvarna provided to give the opportunity where you can use one presser foot for everything. You can sew ornamental stitching, you can sew zigzagging, you can do straight stitching, all with this single presser foot. You can also go to something like this if you're having feed issues, especially if you're dealing with slipperier materials. You go to something like that where you've got a roller foot. And this roller foot is a vintage roller foot. It's got metal roller on the back, metal roller on the front. And what it's going to do is it's going to grip that material a little bit more evenly, and it's going to allow those feed dogs to feed it more evenly with these pressing down against it and kind of allowing that material to flow. So this is a great option if you're having feed issues. And also, again, I've already shown you by opening the faceplate, central to feed is going to be the level of presser foot pressure that you have. So inadequate presser foot pressure, you're not only going to have issues with the material not feeding or not moving across the feed dogs evenly, you're also going to have issues with those stitches that you're trying to generate being compressed, because that material is slipping and it's not being fed evenly. And you'll end up, instead of having a stitch like this, you're going to get a stitch like this where it's going to be compressed. So a roller foot really helps with that a lot, as long as you're having proper presser foot pressure. Or you can go to something like this. Let me grab one. You can go to something like this, which is really dusty. You can go to something like this and use a walking foot. A walking foot is also a great way to increase your material feed and to increase your stitch quality, especially if you're dealing with needle swing. Because when you're generating a needle swing with the machine and you're feeding that material at the same time, there's a lot of opportunity for those stitches to be imbalanced, or for those stitches to not be as well formed. So little attachments like a walking foot and or the rolling foot that I showed you will help considerably. But again, it all comes down to proper presser foot pressure. So, and you can check that readily. You know, if I change the angle of this shot real quick, if I change the angle of this, and I take you to the back of the machine real quick, you can see the presser foot lever right here. When you're in the down position, if you just bring it up just a little bit like this, you'll be able to feel right away how much resistance that spring is giving you, and how much that spring is going to be pressing down on that presser foot bar and pushing that presser foot into the material so that those feed dogs can grip it down below and can move it through evenly. So just take your presser foot lever like this, just bring it up slightly like this, and you'll be able to feel, is there a lot of resistance or is there a little bit of resistance? If there's a little bit, then you need to adjust that presser foot pressure up if you're sewing something heavier, or if you're sewing something that has multiple layers. Multiple layers also will require greater presser foot pressure, because it has to press all of those layers down and try to keep them even as they're going over the feed dogs and as they're passing underneath that presser foot attachment, whatever attachment you're using. So just be aware of that as well. All right, let me get a quick little drink of water. All right. I'll raise my presser foot, pull that thread out, and we'll go on to our next stitch. And then we'll look at these with a little bit more scrutiny, but I think you can pretty much see them right now. We're getting some beautiful, beautiful stitch outcomes, aren't we? Yeah, I had a little bit of a residue. I had a little bit of a residue from that cam, and I set that cam when I took it out to show it to you. I set it right here, and now we have a little grease spot right there. Because I had a little bit of a residue on the cam, so that it would work more smoothly in the machine, and I didn't account for that. So I got my material with a little. It's kind of like going to a buffet, all you can eat. My mom did this. My mom was always a very thrifty gal. My mom was always a very, very thrifty gal. And if she went to a buffet where they had all you can eat, whatever, she would always try to sneak a little bit of it into her purse, and she would wrap it in napkins, and then she would stick it inside of her purse. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to eat whatever you eat there and leave the rest behind. But she was like, why would I do that? That's crazy. I wouldn't want to waste that good chicken. And my mom and dad were also thrifty as far as not taking a lot of vacations. They would very seldom travel long distances. They always wanted to be close to home, but they really were courageous one time, and they went with my aunt and uncle down to Mexico. And when they went down to Mexico, my mom purchased a beautiful leather hand tooled purse. You guys know what I'm talking about. They're beautiful purses that our friends to the south make down there. And you could buy them, at least you could buy them then, for practically nothing. And my mom was so proud of this purse. She loved this leather hand tool purse that someone very carefully and skillfully made down in Mexico. And she went to a buffet and she couldn't help herself. She couldn't help herself. So she had like two extra pieces of chicken on her plate. And when the waitress wasn't looking, she took extra napkins and she wrapped up those two pieces of chicken and stuck them inside of her hand tooled purse. Big mistake. Even though she had them wrapped in 4 or 5 napkins, that oil in the process of making the journey back home went all the way through those napkins, soaked into that hand tooled leather, which is real thin. And it worked its way all the way to the outside. And kind of like my material right here, having a little bit of an oil spot on it, mom ruined her hand tooled purse from Mexico. I heard that story over and over and over again at family gatherings. And she almost kind of told it as a badge of honor, like, yeah, I ruined my purse, but I went home with that chicken. You bet I did. So I'm sure some of you have stories like that as well of family members. She should have gone with a Ziploc bag. A Ziploc bag would have been a much better choice than napkins. Yeah, so learn from my mom's mistake in ruining her beautiful hand tool purse from the beautiful country of Mexico. Yeah. Mom learned. Yes, she did. All right. So let's do some decorative sewing now on this 1960 CL21A. So what we're going to do now is we're going to want to move this slider from 5. Otherwise, all we're going to get is a zigzag. So I'm going to take my stitch width, I'm going to take it down to 0. And now I'm going to move this slider to position 4. And then I'm going to take my stitch width back and move it back up to 4. Now, the other thing I have to adjust is my stitch length. Whenever you're sewing something decorative, ornamental, you want to go quite a ways down on that stitch length range. So right now I'm on 3 because we just did that zigzag. I'm going to take it all the way down to 0.75. So I'm turning it clockwise, and I'm going to keep going until I'm all the way down to 0.75, right in that range. Actually, kind of almost a little bit below 0.75. Yeah, I'm pretty much there right now. Yeah, right about there. And again, don't go crazy with the stitch length. If you go too low, you're not going to get any material feed. It's going to start to bunch up, especially as that needle is trying to overlay and lay down multiple layers of thread in a very compressed space. You're going to have issues with feed. So don't go crazy with it. Go right around 0.75 and you're going to get a good looking stitch. All right, so I'm going to take that take up arm to the highest level. So we're ready to launch. Rotate the camera back. There we go. That's pretty good, I think. And now we're going to try laying down our first decorative ornamental stitch. It's going to be stitch number 4. And again, we have cam A in the back of the machine. All right, so let's give this a go, see what we think. All right, here we go. I've got to remember to keep my foot on the foot controller. That's what you heard, is I kept kind of lifting it up and looking and seeing what's happening down there. Beautiful, beautiful stitch. That's our first stitch right there. And I'm this live stream, I'm going to be a good boy and not try to name the stitches. It's really, really hard to do. It's kind of like mom not being able to leave those 2 pieces of chicken behind and ruining her beautiful hand-tooled leather purse. So I'm going to try to be a good boy and not name the stitches. I'm going to let all of you name the stitches because most of you probably know the actual name of the stitch. Yeah, you probably do. I don't. I don't know what it's called, but it's really cool. You can kind of see it right there. That's our top stitch. Yeah, I like that one a lot. Okay, I can't resist. I'm like my mom with chicken. I'm like my mom with chicken. It looks like the McDonald's symbol to me. All right, I said it. All right, I'm done. Oh, it does look like the McDonald's symbol. And now I'm getting hungry, and I don't go to McDonald's very often because it's not the healthiest place to eat. It just isn't. It's not the healthiest place to eat. They do have good French fries, though. And I sometimes bring French fries home to Hank, too. Hank loves French fries. Yes, he does. Yeah, beautiful stitching. There's our, I just flipped it over. I was just curious. I looked at our lock stitching as well. There's our lock stitching on the back. And we'll look at these a little bit closer later. There's our top stitch again. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful stitching. We're going to finish off cam A on this 100% cotton, and then we'll take a little bit closer look at these. Although with some of the adjustments I made on this camera using the Razor software program that they give to people, I'm having more success, I think, on this live stream with not getting that glare. But I'm also on another workbench. I'm on a different workbench than I normally am, so maybe that's part of it. I shouldn't get too excited yet. I might still face problems. Okay, so let's do this next decorative stitch. And what I'm going to do again, I'll just turn the camera that direction. Can you see it? Sort of. There we go. Now you can see it. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to take my stitch width down to 0. Take it all the way down to 0 so that that reader finger retracts and it's not pressed into the cam as I'm trying to slide that cam. Basically the reader finger is going to move along as you're moving that slider. It's going to move to a different part of that cam to read a different series of those bumps to generate the stitch that you want to generate. Well, you don't want to do that with the reader finger pressed into the cam. So we turn this to 0, and then it pulls that reader finger away from the cam. Okay. Now I can move it from position 4 to position 3 very easily. And then I just turn my stitch width back to 4 again. I'm not going to touch my stitch length because I already have it on 0.75. We're just going to run with that. All right, let me just adjust the camera a little bit again. There we go. Perfect. Well, not perfect, near perfect. All right, so let's do this next stitch now. The only thing I'm doing is I'm going to bring that take-up arm to the highest position. And I'm going to go ahead and lay down this next stitch, which is going to be stitch number 3 on cam A. Stitch number 3 on cam A. Here we go. Oh, this is a fun one. This is called, and I actually know the name of this stitch. It's a miracle. I actually know the actual name of this stitch. It's called a 3-point zigzag. And you can see how it looks so different from this other zigzag where the needle is hitting that same spot on the zigzag points multiple times. So it's going to have a slightly different look. It's going to have a little bit different texture to how that stitch presents, doesn't it? Yeah, I like the 3-point zigzag. It's probably one of my favorite utility stitches. It's has a decorative touch to it, but it's also basic. It's basic as well. So a very lovely 3-point zigzag being laid down by that. And a quick hello to the man. Hold on a second. The Mandy Peterson. I hope I'm getting that even close. Mandy Peterson, welcome to you as well. That's another new name. And I'm sure the leadership team and others have already reached out and welcomed you, but welcome. Always great to have new folks that join us, and the ones that are feeling comfortable enough to step from the shadows into the live chat so that you can kind of get to know folks a little bit better. It's harder to get to know folks when you're in the shadows, but again, I'm not rushing anyone. I totally respect if you need to kind of hang back a little bit and kind of watch things for a while before you decide to step out and introduce yourself. So welcome to that that new individual. And I'm sure, I'm not looking at the live chat, I'm sure there's others as well that are higher up in the live chat. And just know that we're glad to have you here, that you're all welcome to be a part of our family and part of these live streams. We'd love to have you here. So all right, just going to quickly wipe off my glasses. And now we're going to do the next stitch on cam once I pull this out. Yeah, I'm quite fond of this 3-point zigzag. It's really quite a lovely stitch. There's our lock stitch. I just kind of turned it over there. We're looking at the lock stitch now. I'll get my big hands out of the way. Try not to cut the actual stitch there. Another little stray one right there. Go away, go away. There we go. Oh. So this is our lock stitch that we're looking at now. I just flipped it over. Beautiful, beautiful stitching. All the different stitch lines that we've done so far, the straight stitch, the zigzag, the McDonald's stitch, for lack of a better word. This is kind of our McDonald's stitch, although I'm sure that's not correct. And then we have our 3-point zigzag as well. So lock stitch, quite spectacular. Definitely page 34 plus. Now flip it over, and then we're looking at that top stitch again. Yeah, really beautiful stitching. And I shouldn't be surprised, because those of you that are brand new to this channel, where if you go to a sew and vac, they're going to spend about 30 to 45 minutes on your machine, not even counting the time that I spent in getting all of that black duct tape off of Christopher's machine, which was a nightmare. I spent about 12 to 14 hours on this machine, servicing it from one end to the other to make sure that it was just at the top of her game. Just at the top of her game. So, all right, let me get that back into place. Now I'm going to rotate the camera to the side a little bit. There we go. It's kind of a good little angle. And if you're seeing another machine on the other workbench, I'm wondering if any of you are knowledgeable about Singer slant-o-matic machines. I'm wondering if any of you are knowledgeable about Singer slant-o-matic machines. I'm going to take the camera off of the mount point for just a second, point it towards the other workbench, and I'll give you probably about 10 seconds to study it. And I know I'm not going to be incredibly close to it, but I'll give you about 15 seconds to study it, and then type in the live chat what model you think it is. And it might be a model number or a name. Some machines are referred to, like I refer to these machines as Swedish beauties. There may be another way to refer to this machine. So let me do that real quick just for fun. Show you this other machine on the workbench across the way. There you go. You can kind of see it, I think. I'll hold the camera as still as I can. Hold it there for about 10 to 15 seconds. Look at it, study it, and see if you can identify what model that is. It's part of the Slant-O-Matic series, I'll tell you that straight away. Part of the Slant-O-Matic series. But what model is that, if anyone knows? All right, back to our Swedish beauty from 1960. Our Swedish beauty from 1960. I'm going to take our stitch width down to 0. And again, whenever you're adjusting these, I didn't say it specifically during this live stream, but whenever you're adjusting any of these controls, always, 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 always make sure your needle is clear of the material. Always make sure, please, 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 so you don't bend a needle, okay? All right, so I'm down on 0. Now I can move my slider from 3 to 2. There we go. Take my stitch width back to 4. I'm not going to touch the stitch length. It's going to stay on 0.75. Now I'll rotate my camera back. Yeah, right about there. There we go. That's a good angle. I like that. Yay. Yay, 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 yay. A great angle. And again, this special boom, I'll call it a boom, that the camera is attached to that allows me to basically bend this coil thing that supports it different directions to get different angles, is a special gift that Emma sent me. So I'm very grateful for it. It's given me a different approach now to shooting these live streams. I can get different angles. I don't have to try to hold the camera at the same time. So thank you again to Emma for the special gift of this this boom thing or whatever. I don't know. There's probably a term for it, but it's basically a coil that you can manipulate different ways, and it gives you a different angle to view that that the sewing with and such. So, all right, let me look at the live chat real quick. Yes, it is a Rocketeer. It is a Rocketeer. And those of you that put 500, that is the correct series number, but specifically it's a 500A. Now, with being an A after the 500, where was that machine made on the other workbench? Was it made in Elizabethport, New Jersey, or was it made somewhere else? There's another question for you. So it's a Rocketeer or a 500A, a Singer 500A Slant-O-Matic. We'll look at the live chat in just a little bit. Just checking something else real quick. Yeah, Kathy King. Kathy King wrote SC, standing for South Carolina. Yes, it was made in Anderson, South Carolina. That's what the A stands for. Whenever you see an A after one of the Singer machines, it indicates that it was made in Anderson, South Carolina, which became their main manufacturing plant when the one up in Elizabethport, New Jersey, ended up shutting down most of its operations. They moved a lot of their production to South Carolina. And I'm guessing that that made the folks in South Carolina very, very happy. Very, very happy. Yeah. You're right. I forgot to ring the bell, didn't I? I forgot to ring the bell. All right. I'm going to ring this at the request of Kathy King. Even though we've been in session for quite some time now we are officially in session. And I'll leave this nearby so y'all can remind me to ring it again at the end. Does anyone know, real quick, the 500A that I just showed you on the other workbench, when did they manufacture that model? Does anyone know? At the Anderson, South Carolina plant, when did they make the 500A? The bracket of their production window, if anyone knows that. Type it in the live chat if you'd be so kind. When did they make the Rocketeer? When did they make the Rocketeer, the 500A? See if anyone knows that. That's a little bit of a tricky question. Kathy King goes, my spell check is cuckoo. If anyone else tries to use speech to text, like on your phone, if you're sending someone a text, some of the things that my speech to text generates, when I know that whatever I've said doesn't sound anything like it at all, it just blows my mind sometimes. And thank goodness I read it before I hit send in most cases, because sometimes it comes up with just ridiculous, crazy, almost obscene things that it types. And I'm like, I didn't say anything close to that. And what's going on with this program? And it's usually Google. Mine will go back and forth between Samsung and Google, and the Google gets it way, way wrong all the time. I've talked to Emma about that. I talked to Susie about that as well. I've talked to Christine about that. Where I've sent something and I'll say, that's not what I meant. Here's what I really meant. I love to say I talked to Bill about that, but Bill doesn't use texting. Bill has a cell phone, but I think it's a flip phone, and it doesn't do texting per se. So the next time Bill joins a live stream, you'll encourage Bill to get a smartphone so we can start texting him, would you? The next time Bill O'Rourke joins us for a live stream, say, hey, Bill, get rid of your flip phone, man, and join the whatever century this is, the 21st century, 22nd century, whatever we are in now. Join the new century and get a smartphone, buddy. Come on, do it. Christine is saying, yes, Rhea. Rhea's saying, yeah, definitely check it, man. Check it, Scott, before you send it, dude. Because if I'm texting Rhea and it defaults to the Google text to speech, speech to text, blah, 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 I might just say something totally crazy. And Rhea's like, Scott, what's wrong with Scott today? Has he been breathing sewer gases again? Has he been breathing sewer gases again? Because he's sending crazy text messages to me. What's going on, man? What's going on? So yeah, I definitely need to double check them, triple check them. I need to do it. So Christine from Canada, one of my leadership team members, is saying 1951, Scott, 1951, buddy. That's actually not correct. That's too early for the Rocketeer series that was made in Anderson, South Carolina. Does anyone else want to venture a guess as far as the manufacturing bracket for the Model 500A, aka the Rocketeer, when they made that machine? It was later than what Christine had typed in the live chat. It was later than that. Susie from Minnesota is typing 1969. And Bill from Minnesota, Mesa Group. And Bill, I hope your puppy is doing well. What a beautiful puppy you have. Bill's typing around 1961. So we've got dates from the 1950s all the way to the 1960s, mid to late 1960s. The correct answer is, and if one of you would be willing to type this in the live chat, matter of fact, if I could designate one of my leaders, Susie, Christine, y'all can work it out. Susie, Christine, or Emma. I don't think Bill is here. I don't think Veronica's here. I think just you folks are here right now. But would you type in the bracket for me for the Rocketeer, the 500A? It was made from 1961. So Bill was bang on until 1963. 1961 to 1963 is when they made the 500A. I'm going to ask you all another question. What was the model they made after Well, I shouldn't say that's not correct. Let me clarify what I was about to say. What model did they make in the same time period as the 500A from 1961 to 1963? They made another model exactly in the same time bracket as the 500A Rocketeer. What model was that? What model did they make at the same time as the Rocketeer in the exact same manufacturing time frame? Does anyone know? Not the 504. Nope, not a 504. You're really close. You're really, really close. Nope, not the 403. If someone wants to type it into the live chat, as a matter of fact, if since Kathy King had said the 403, Kathy, would you be so kind as to type in the actual bracket for the 403, which is actually another Anderson, South Carolina product, the 403A, and that was made from 1958 to 1960. The 403A was made from 1958 to 1960. So the 403A preceded the 500A, the Rocketeer, and also this other model that would have been made at exactly the same time at exactly the same plant as the Rocketeer. It was another slantomatic model. Yeah, Susie typed the 503, just put an A after 503, and one of our other friends also typed 503. If you ladies would just type the same thing but put an A after it, then you're absolutely spot on. It was the 503A, which I refer to as the cruise ship slantomatic, because the lines that they put on that machine are just downright sexy. One of the sexiest, most beautiful machines, in my opinion, that Singer ever made, and certainly within the Slantomatic series, was the 503A. As a matter of fact, if I remember correctly, way back when we did that fundraiser for the History Museum in South Bend, Indiana, and we raised about $12,000 in 10 days to help those folks out in the middle of the pandemic, Emma ended up bidding or making a donation, and she won a 503A with a full cam, with a full cam assembly, blah blah blah. And that's a machine I still need to get to her so that she can enjoy it. But I love the 503A. Oh my gosh, I look at a 503A and I just go, woo, 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 woo. Yeah. I love the 503A a lot. Oh, and welcome to Sheila as well. I know I didn't say good morning and hello to Sheila yet. I see Sheila Kilgore is also in the live chat. So welcome to Sheila. And again, if there's other folks that are saying, well, Scott, you didn't say good morning to me, it's probably because you popped up in the live chat while I was over here on the workbench and I missed you. So please forgive me for that. Please, please forgive me. I know that all the other family members and the leadership team made you feel welcome. And again, I kind of turn it over to them. I trust my leadership team implicitly. And when I turn it over to them, they are in charge. So I'm sure that they made you feel welcome. So feel welcomed, even if I didn't specifically say your name. And I apologize for that if I did miss you. So real quick, if someone is willing to be my scribe, if someone is willing to be my scribe and they're a good typist, let's just cover again for summary purposes. Let's cover again the entire Slantomatic family as far as production dates. Okay, let's do that real quick. And I'll try to say it and I'll create a little bit of a pause in between so that whoever wants to scribe it can do that in the live chat as a permanent record of the bracket production dates for each Slantomatic machine. Okay, let's do that now. So let's start all the way going back to The very first in the Slant-O-Matic series, which was the 301. The 301, which would have been made in Elizabethport, New Jersey, would have started right around 1951, 52, and it was only made for 1 year. So let's just say from 1951 to 1952 was the 301. I call it the big sister to the featherweight. Then came the 301A, which would have not been made in New Jersey. It would have been made down there in South Carolina. And that came on the scene right around 1953. 1953, and it would have been produced until 1957. So we start out with a 301 in Elizabethport, New Jersey. They made it for 1 year, only 1 year, from 1951 to 1952. And they only made, you don't have to type this in the live chat per se, but they only made 185,750 of the 301s at the Elizabethport, New Jersey plant. Then they shifted production down to Anderson, South Carolina, and they started making the 301A in 1953, and they made it until 1957. They only made 514,250 of those, 514,250 of those. And both the 301 and the 301A, I call them both the big sisters to the featherweight. So if you add those numbers up, the 185,750, the 514,250, it's only a fraction of the production of what they made for the featherweights. And that's why I say, if you've got a 301 or a 301A, stand up proud. Stand up proud. Matter of fact, do a little dance. Do a little dance, because you have something much more rare than the coveted featherweight if you have a 301 or a 301A. So they get done with a 301A, and in that same time period, a little bit before they end production of the 301A, they start making the 401A. The 401A starts in 1956, and they make it until 1961. The 401A comes on the scene in 1956, and they make it until 1961. Then comes the 403A. The 403A comes on the scene in 1958, and they make it until 1960. Then they introduce a straight stitch only Slant-O-Matic machine, and that is none other than the 404. The 404 only does a straight stitch. That's it. That's all you get. But it does a beautiful straight stitch. And they made that machine from 1958 until 1963. 1958 to 1963 is the straight stitch only Slant-O-Matic machine, the 404. And we've already talked about the next machines that followed, the 500A, the Rocketeer, and then also the 503A. Both of those machines were manufactured at exactly the same time from 1961, as Bill said, until 1963. And that is the smorgasbord. That's the smorgasbord of the Slant-O-Matic family, going all the way from the 301 made in Elizabethport, New Jersey, until the final editions of the Slant-O-Matic family of the Rocketeer, the 500A. I got to get another drink of water. The 500A and the 503A, the cruise line version that I say, from 1961 to 1963. So there you go. That's the Slant-O-Matic family. And that Rocketeer is the one that I'll be focusing on shortly on the other workbench. All right. All of that blah, blah, blahing, Scott. Blah, 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 blah. I don't even remember where we are. Okay, we're going to be stitching stitch number 2 on cam A. Stitch number 2 on cam A, finally. All right, let me just get the take-up arm all the way up. And we'll lay down this next stitch pattern with this 1960 CL21A. CL21A. Here we go. I was kind of heavy-footed there, wasn't I? I kind of went a little bit crazy on the gas. Again, all of our Europeans friends don't call it a motor, they call it an engine. So I was like pumping that engine big time there, wasn't I? Now I'm going to be a good boy and not call this, even though I want to call it a certain stitch style. I'll be a good boy and not call it a stitch style. I think Kathy King and others are really knowledgeable on stitch names. So Kathy King or someone else can name this. I'm not going to try. This is the one we just laid down right here. All right, let me just adjust the camera so we can see the entire stitch line there. There we go. I think we can now. So far in this live stream, we started out with a basic straight stitch. We went to a zigzag. We went to the McDonald's stitch. We went to the 3-point zigzag, and now we just laid down this puppy. And I'll be a good boy. I will not give it a name. I'm not going to give it a name. It's a nameless stitch until Kathy King or one of our other friends types it in the live chat. Yeah, it's got no name. How does that feel not to have a name? You got no name until we give you one. Yeah, until then you're nameless. Yeah, you are. Ha ha ha! Yeah. Oh yeah. We sent a hat to Kevin as well. Absolutely true. Okay. Well, if someone wants to give it a name, it'll have a name. Otherwise, it's going to be a nameless stitch. So there is, if we're looking at these, this is our last stitch line we just did here. We turn it over. There's our lock stitch. Page 34 across the board. And the only thing I would change about this particular nameless stitch is I would take that stitch length and be a rebel. I would be a rebel. I'm going to be a rebel. I would be a rebel, and I would shorten up that stitch length to pull this even a little bit more tight to give it more definition. This one in particular, I would do that with. It's very, very good looking, but I would make it even tighter than it is right now. So this is our lock stitch. Yep. And our top stitch. Beautiful stitching. Beautiful stitching. All right, let me give that a clip and we'll move on to our last stitch on cam A, our last stitch on cam A. There we go. Now I got it pointed the right way. So off camera, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my stitch width down to 0. Watch what happens to that needle. Just a little bit of a movement. It's very subtle. So now I pull that little finger back. Now I'm going to move our cam slider. I can rotate and show you. Move our cam slider now that I have that finger retracted by turning this to 0, I'll move that all the way to 1. Now I'm going to take my stitch width and take it back to 4. I'm going to be a rebel and just shorten up our stitch length just ever so slightly. Right now we're at 0.75. I'm going to take it just a little bit more down, just a hair. Okay, just a little bit. We'll get our take-up arm at the highest position. And then I'm going to rotate the camera back so we can see what's happening down at the needle. All right, let's lay down this final stitch on cam A. This is going to be stitch number 1 on cam A. And again, if you've got a revised cam A, your stitches might be just slightly different. Just slightly different. All right, here we go. That was so cool. I don't know if you heard that. That was so, so cool. We went over that little oil slick where I'd set the cam there and I got a little bit of oil on the material. And when the needle went over that section that had a little bit heavier concentration of the oil, it made just a little bit of a funny sound like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Kind of like sliding when you're in Wisconsin in the wintertime. Yeah, it was kind of freaked out there. That was fun. And here again, depending on where you have that stitch length and stitch width, you can totally change the look of any of these stitches. This is what I chose to do, but you could choose to shorten up that stitch length even more as long as you're getting material feed, or you could make it a little bit more narrow and adjust your stitch width. I had all of these at 4 for all of these decorative ornamental stitches. For the stitch width, I had it on 4. You could have set it on 3 or 2, and you get a totally different look for these stitches. So just realize you're not relegated to doing it the way I did it. Choose your own path. Choose your own path, within reason, as long as you're getting material feed. So this is our top stitch we're looking at right now, which is just absolutely, hello, gorgeous, just gorgeous. Definitely page 34 plus. And then we're going to turn it over and look at that lock stitch. Pull that thread a little bit. There we go. This is our lock stitch. Looking at that now. Kind of have it upside down a little bit. Beautiful stitch quality all throughout. Beautiful stitch quality. And again, the lock stitch is always harder to get that definition, to get that clarity of stitch. But each one of these stitch lines is just absolutely as it should be. Absolutely as it should be. Again, our top stitch. Beautiful stitching. Let me go and clip this thread, and we will move on to some other materials. We've been sewing on 100% cotton with a stiffener. Now we're going to be moving on to something totally different. And I'm going to let you all vote on what we do. As a matter of fact, I'll give you a lot of voting power. We're going to be sewing with either, let me move this to the side. Isn't that lovely? And I'll send this with a machine when it goes back to the Bronx, New York, so that Christopher has a chance to also stitch down the same material that he saw on this live stream. Beautiful stuff. I'm going to throw that to the back. Actually, I'll throw it kind of to the back and to the side. So what we're going to stitch next before wrapping up this live stream is we're going to either stitch protected full grain leather. And again, we're not using a leather needle. We're using a universal needle. So either protected full grain leather, saddle grade leather. Oh, and remind me, we got to use our slow gear to sew this one. That's shaped kind of like a, I don't know what that's shaped like. It's maybe like a shoe. We turn it like that. Something. And then we've got this Naugahyde stuff as well. So not only can you tell me what material you'd like to see me sew next, but you can also tell me what stitch you want to see me lay down on it. What stitch? So any of the stitches that we've already done, whether it's a standard zigzag or stitch number 4, stitch number 3, stitch number 2, stitch number 1, I'll just do it. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it. So you can either say, hey, let's go into the slow gear straight away, do this one, or let's do this stitch on this saddle grade leather, or on this protected full grain leather, or on this Naugahyde. All right. So I'm going to look at the live chat, see what y'all are saying, if anything, and then we'll move on. We're going to move on. Oh, hey, welcome to Aaron Allen. Welcome to Aaron from the Upper East Coast. She's up in the area of, and forgive me, Aaron, because I deal with so many folks. You're up in, I think, up near Connecticut, right? Connecticut, I think. Yeah. Vermont. Oh, my gosh. We just moved you to an entirely different state. What is wrong with me? Why would I move you to Connecticut when you're in Vermont? Oh, my gosh. Oh my goodness. Dr. Singer off camera right now is shaking his finger like, really? You're going to move her to Connecticut and she lives in Vermont? Why the heck would she move to Connecticut when she's in Vermont? Like one of the most beautiful states ever, ever. So, at any rate, sorry about that, Aaron. Trying to see, yeah, right. No, let's angle this back now. Let's angle that back over there, over that way, over that way, that way, that way. There you are. There you are. It's all New England. Thank God. Thank you, Bill. Thanks, Bill. You rescued me. I was just dangling out there, and Bill rescued me. It's all New England, for goodness sakes. Yeah. So I was wrong. I was just wrong. I was just plain wrong. I should have just gone with New England. Thanks, Bill. I'm going to go with New England next time. Next time it's New England. I'm not going to try to remember because I've got customers in Connecticut, all those little places up there. And I'm just going to go with New England. That's my new tagline. I'm New England now. Oh my goodness, -20. Saddle grade leather, please. 2 layers. Okay, saddle grade leather, 2 layers. Which stitch, Susie, should we try on the saddle grade leather 2 layers? Which stitch? So I'm going to get this all set right there. What stitch do you want to see? Do you want to see a straight, a zigzag? Do you want to see stitch number 4, 3, 2, 1? We're going to try to do potentially a decorative ornamental stitch through 2 layers of saddle grade leather. That's kind of crazy, but hey, it's what we do. It's how we roll. So a zigzag, we're going to do a zigzag. All right. So what I'm going to do to adjust for a zigzag is I'm going to take our slider after I take our stitch width and move our stitch width down to 0, because right now that finger, when I've got it on 4, that finger is pressing into the cam. So I've got to get that finger to pop it back, take it down to 0. Then we're going to slide this slider all the way back down to 5. All the way down to 5. Now I'm going to take my stitch width back to probably like around 3-ish, somewhere in that neck of the woods. And I'm going to take my stitch length and I'm going to bring it right about to 3 as well. Yeah, a little bit less than 3. A little bit less than 3. All right, so I've made all my adjustments to do the zigzag that Susie wants to see on the 2 layers of saddle grade leather. 2 layers of saddle grade leather. All right, almost got it. And I will put them back to back with the naps facing each other, which makes it even a higher piercing threshold. If you go with the grain, like this, the piercing threshold is a little bit less than when you go like this. So we're going to make it even tougher on this 1960 CL21A. Get that underneath the presser foot. Get that into place. I might add a clip to this just to try to sew a little bit straighter. Let me see. I'm bumping the camera all over the place here. There we go. That's pretty good. Put a little clip on here. Try to hold it together, hopefully. And a little clip right here. All right, I'm going to get that take-up arm at the highest position. Get that at the highest position so that we have a better launch without spinning our wheels. Because again, if you didn't know it about these Swedish beauties, these green machines, they are not direct drive. I've seen that posted different places. They are belt-driven machines. They've got a long belt that goes over the balance wheel down to the bobbin winding assembly. And then they have a short belt that goes between the motor output pulley and the bobbin winding assembly as well. So there's a lot of opportunity for losing kinetic energy when you launch if you don't start at the highest position with that take-up arm. So we've got to give this machine every opportunity to succeed, because we're going to be going through, look at it from the side, we're going to be going through almost 6 ounces of leather. Pretty doggone close. 4 to 6 ounces of leather. So let's give it every opportunity to succeed on this launch. Let's give it a go. All right, here we go. Keep your fingers and toes crossed. 2 layers of saddle grade leather. Again, we're not using a leather needle. We're using a universal Schmetz 9014 needle. All right. I'm a little bit nervous because I didn't try this off camera. Didn't try it. So let's hope for the best. Yes, let's hope for the bestness. I'm actually going to adjust my little stool a little bit so I can get better position on that foot controller. All right, here we go. Oh boy, why do we do this crazy stuff? Why do we do this? Yeah, why don't we do it more? Yeah, we should do it more. All right, here we go. I'm going to stop right there. Did you see it hit that leather? And it was like, oh, partly because I didn't give it enough gas. More gas. Here we go. Yes. That is a beautiful, are you kidding me? Top stitch. Let me take these little clips off. Beautiful, beautiful top stitch. Throw this to the side a little bit there. Wow. Give that a little bit of a pull so we can look at that right away. And you notice how I intentionally set that stitch length just a little bit shorter than our stitch width, so it got a nicer peak this time. I don't like it when it's kind of a flat, it's not a flat peak, but it's not as pointed, it's not as pronounced. And right now we've got a beautifully pronounced peak on that zigzag stitch, again, through 2 layers of saddle grade leather. You can kind of look at it from the side right there. 2 layers of saddle grade leather. Beautiful, beautiful stitching. I'll take my hand out of the way. Very, very nice. Very, very nice. Now I'm going to kind of do this. I'm going to do like a little flippy thing going on. Do like a little flippy thing. And we'll look at that lock stitch right away, and then I'll clip these threads. This is our lock stitch. Again, the lock stitch is always going to be tougher to generate for the machine because it's got to sweep down with that non-leather needle through these 2 thick layers of saddle grade leather and then pull that thread back through. And look at the peaks and the definition on this lock stitch. It just doesn't get much better than that. The only way we could get even better clarity of stitch, would be to use a leather needle, and maybe that roller or that walking foot that I showed you earlier in the live stream. That's the only way we can make it better. Right now it's page 34 plus, both for the lock stitch and also the top stitch right there. Unbelievable. What a great suggestion that Susie gave in saying, go for the 2 layers. Go for the 2 layers of saddle grade leather. I know you're not using a leather needle, Scott. I know it's not a direct drive machine, but it was in the workshop. For goodness sakes, let's actually put it to the test. Let's put it to the test. So there you go. I'm going to pinch that together. That's about the thickness of a belt. Real close to the thickness of a belt. Right there. I'm pinching it together. And this Swedish beauty from 1960 that started its journey at eBay, plagued with all kinds of issues, including the wrong foot controller, is now dancing through 6 layers. Boy, that would be cool. 6 ounces of saddle grade leather. Right there. right there. Oh, isn't it fun? Isn't it fun? All right, let's give that a clip. Get ready for our next sew off. All right. Wow. Wow. And I would challenge anybody. I've done this innumerable times over the years, and I've never had a taker. But I would challenge and invite anyone that has a CL21A from approximately the same time frame, 1960s-ish, to get a hold of some saddle grade leather. I'll even send it to you. If you cover the postage, I'll send you 2 thicknesses of saddle grade leather like this. And I want you to shoot a video of your CL21A going through it. I've never had anyone take me up on any of my challenges, ever. But it needs to deliver page 34 plus stitching like this lock stitch and like this top stitch. I would love to have somebody accept that challenge because I want to clap for you. If you have a CL21A that can go through this much leather that easily and lay down a page 34 plus stitch, I want to meet you. I want to shake your hand. I want to give you a high five. Yeah, I do. Beautiful stitching. I'm going to throw that to the back with our other stitching we've already done. Now we're down to either using the slow gear to do this other saddle grade leather. And again, we can do any stitch you want. I'll do any stitch you want through this single layer of saddle grade leather using the slow gear. Or we can do this naga hide. I've got 2 layers of this naga hide. We can do that as well, or this protected full grain leather. Any of those sew-offs, you choose and I will do. You choose and I will do. And again, you don't have to go with a straight or a zigzag. We can do one of these decorative stitches between 4, 3, 2, and 1. 4, 3, 2, and 1. You choose, I will do. Yeah. Let me look at the live chat real quick. Yeah, welcome back to somebody. I don't know I have no idea who we're welcoming back, but Christine welcomed you back. Doggone it, you're welcome. Ha-ha! Yes. All right, real quick. I'm going to look at the live chat and see if we have anybody that is expressing a opinion, a desire. So we got. I had to restart YouTube. YouTube locked up? What? All right, I want somebody to call YouTube right now and tell them that Christine from Canada should not have to reboot YouTube. What the heck's going on with that? I want names. I want people to be responsible for that. Doggone it. Don't mistreat one of my leadership team members from Canada. I'm fuming mad right now. I'm like tapping my left foot like Dr. Singer does when I take a lunch break that's too long, which happens every leap year. Every leap year. And he still taps his little foot every single time about me taking too long of a lunch. That's what I'm doing right now on behalf of Christine from Canada. Doggone you, YouTube. Shame on you. Shame, 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 shame. Shame on you. Don't make her do that again. Doggone it. Son of a gun. Oh, okay. All right. YouTube, you're off the hook. Christine said it's her internet. It's her internet. It wasn't your fault this time, but usually it is your fault. So just take ownership for her internet. Why don't you? Yeah. What's going on with that? Doggone it. Unnamed stitch. We still have an unnamed stitch. I'm trying to remember which one that was now. Let me see if I can figure it out. So we're going to try to do full grain protected leather with the unnamed stitch. The unnamed stitch would be this one right here. That's our unnamed stitch. So that should be That should be in position 2, I believe. This would be position 1, position 2, position 3, position 4 is our McDonald's stitch, and then finally position 5 is going to be our zigzag on any of the black cams. So I've got to move my stitch slider to position 2 to get the unnamed stitch. Let's do that right now. Position 2. So I'm going to take this all the way down to 0. Get that down to 0. Then I got to move this to position 2 to get that unnamed stitch. It's kind of sad that it doesn't have a name, I think. But whatever. All right, so now we're in position 2 for the unnamed stitch, which I'm going to call a building block stitch, but whatever. I'm just going to leave it unnamed because Kathy King didn't name it before, and it's not getting named now. So take away, I don't edit any of my videos, but edit in your mind that I just said building block stitch because it doesn't have a name. It's an unnamed stitch, doggone it. So number 2, take our 0 on stitch width back to 4. Now I'm going to take my stitch length all the way down to 0.75. Turning, still turning, right about there. Right about there. 0.75. Real close to 0.75 anyway. All right, I'm going to move this out of the way. And now, at Kathy King's request, we're going to do the unnamed stitch right there. And we're going to do it on the saddle. We're going to do it on the protected full grain leather. That's what I meant to say. Protected full grain leather. So you guys move to the side. It's not your turn yet. And we're going to do it on the protected full grain leather. Now, what do I do with that stitch? Do I do a single? Look at this huge piece. This huge piece. I guess I'll just cut a strip down and we'll lay down that decorative stitch on here. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Where are my scissors? Oh, there they are. Got them. Okay. Go right about over to here. Are you meaning by hand or machine, Susie? Hand or machine, Susie. Okay, y'all are having a conversation. I have no idea what you're talking about. So I'm just going to focus over here. Right over here. That's where I'm going to focus. Right over here. Right there. That's where I'm going to focus right now. Right now. Right now, I'm going to focus right over here. So I'm going to set up this protected full grain leather. Look at the thickness of this stuff from the side. Probably about 3 to 4 ounces of leather. 3 to 4 ounces of leather. And we're going to be laying down a decorative ornamental stitch on it. It's kind of crazy. It's a little crazy, but we're going to do it anyway. Why not? Why wouldn't we do it? Why do I keep bumping the camera? But whatever. Okay, here we go. At Kathy King's request, we are sewing protected full grain leather. We are doing stitch number 2, which is the unnamed stitch. And I don't want anyone from Sweden, no one from Sweden contacting me or contacting Kathy King and saying, what's up with that? Yo, what's up with that? Why are you calling it an unnamed stitch? It's got a name. Okay? It's got a name. This, whoa, geez, I'm getting all aggressive here. I'm getting like bumping the camera. I'm getting so emotional. Why are you saying it's an unnamed stitch? That stitch has a name, for goodness sakes. Don't call it unnamed. You're offending us in Sweden. You're offending us in Sweden. Do not call it an unnamed stitch. Well, you know what? This is our channel. And if Kathy King and I want to call this an unnamed stitch, it's unnamed. Okay? So get over it. You people in Sweden are so doggone sensitive. What's wrong with unnamed? Right? All right. So just get over it. Right, Kathy? Yeah, get over it, man. Whatever. We don't. Yeah, we're going to call it anything we want to call it. Yeah, we're going to call it the gobbledygook stitch. How do you like that? What do you like better, unnamed or gobbledygook? Yeah. So just live with it. Live with it. It's what we're going to do. All right. I feel better now. Feel a little bit better. All right. Here we go. The unnamed stitch on protected full grain leather. Here we go. Yes. Ready. Execute. What? What, Mr. Bean? Yeah, I know I have to push on the foot controller. Silly guy. I know what I'm doing, sort of. All right, here we go. I know to hold it down. I know. Yes. Oh, yeah. That's, if I've ever seen an unnamed stitch before, that's what it looks like right there. That is definitely an unnamed stitch. Yeah, it is. Through protected full grain leather, nonetheless, using a non-leather needle. It's how we roll. It's just how we roll. So that's our top stitch. See if I can advance the thread just a little bit. Look at that lock stitch on the back. Protected full grain leather doesn't have a real thick nap, so you can see the outline of that lock stitch beautifully, and it's absolutely as it should be. It's absolutely as it should be. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous lock stitch. And again, we haven't made any dramatic, actually, we haven't made any adjustments. We have made 0 adjustments to our upper tension. 0 adjustments for all of these sew-offs. So it gives you an idea of how well running Christopher's 1960 CL21A is running right now. We haven't made a single adjustment to the upper tension, even though we've sewn a variety of materials already. So there's our lock stitch, and there's our top stitch of the unnamed stitch. Attention, all of you in Sweden. Attention, all of you in Sweden. This is Scott and Kathy King contacting you now. Yes, we're calling you collect. We're calling you collect, and we're letting you know it's still an unnamed stitch. At this point, we're not going to name it. So get over it, all of you in Sweden that are really, really sensitive about your stitches. Yeah, it's unnamed, but it sure is cool. It sure is gorgeous. Yeah, I like it. I like it. Scotty likes. Kathy likes. Yeah, there it is. Our unnamed stitch. Cool. All right. Let's move on. Let's move on. Clip. Back over there. There you go. Right there. Right there. Yeah, that is a beautiful, beautiful stitch. Holy mackerel. Jiminy Christmas. Very, very nice. Oh, that way. There you go. All right, back in the pile you go. Back in the pile, the sew-off sandwich. So now what do we have? What do we have now? What do we have? What do we have? What do we have? You know what we should probably do? We've already done protected. All right. So we've got this protected. We've got this saddle grade leather. I'll get it right. We got this saddle grade leather right here. And I want to use this for the slow gear, but I am not going to choose the stitch. That's up to you all to choose the stitch that we lay down on this saddle grade leather using the slow gear. And then we've got this Naugahyde. We're going to do 2 layers of this Naugahyde stuff. Again, it's a fake leather. It's got a lot of vinyl in it. It's tricky stuff to work with. It's got this nasty little Kevlar background on it, the back side of it. So we're going to do these last 2 sew-offs, and then we're going to wrap up this live stream. So I'm going to look at the live chat, see what y'all are saying. What stitch should we lay down using the slow gear on this saddle grade leather? What stitch do you want to see going through these 2 layers of Naugahyde, this fake stuff that's made to look like leather? But you're not leather, just so you know. You're not leather. You're leather. You're not. You're leather. You're not. You're leather. You're not. Yeah. All right. We got that down. All right. Yay. All right. Saddle grade. saddle grade, beautiful stitches. Hello, Four Oaks Living. Hello, Four Oaks Living. You've already been greeted by one of my leaders. Now I'm greeting you as well. So you've been greeted twice. It's a bonus today. Call now. Operators are waiting, but there's more. Now we have to decide what stitch to lay down on the saddle grade leather using the slow gear. What kind of stitch are we going to do? Are we going to do a zigzag? Are we going to do stitch number 4, stitch number 3, stitch number 2, stitch number 1? Or are we going to do a straight stitch going around that saddle grade leather using the slow gear? What do you guys think? McDonald's. Kathy is saying, let's do the McDonald's. Saddle grade. Susie is saying, Susie said the one with no name. The one with no name, the one we just did. Do that one. Oh, gosh. We've got a divided family, you guys. We got a divided family. What do we do? What do we do? What we could do is we could go around the outside with one of the stitches, and then we could do another line of stitching on the inside of that other stitch that you all want to see. We've got to negotiate as a family, right? We got to negotiate. You guys are getting me crazy here. Now you're saying a straight stitch. So what are we doing? Like 3 lines? We're doing the, oh my gosh, I'm so confused. I'm so confused. Help! Help! The no name. The, oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Holy mackerel. Oh boy, now we're scalloping Naugahyde. Kathy, you're so demanding. Oh my goodness. I'm so lost on what to do. All right, let's do the saddle grade first. And I'm going to get it into position. And now what I'm going to do from this side over here is I'm going to grab that little outer part of the bobbin winder and I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to try to pull it out. Ha! I did it. So I just pulled that out. So that engages the slow gear. Okay. Now we're going to be gearing down the machine from full speed all the way down to 1/5 speed. 1/5 speed. Sewing. What are we sewing? We're sewing the unnamed stitch first. We're going to do the unnamed stitch first using the slow gear. Then we're going to do another one after that. I have no idea what it was. All right, type it in the live chat again. We'll do like a couple rows here. We're going to do a couple rows. We're going to do it after I get a drink of water. All right, I got a drink of water. I'm all set. All right, so here goes the unnamed stitch that really is making Swedish people very angry right now. I'm going to declare as our international representative, Christine from Canada. Christine, you are now in charge of Cow Country United Nations. Christine is in charge of Cow Country United Nations, and you've got to represent us as an ambassador to the Swedish people, trying to calm them down because they're rallying, right? They're gathering in the city center right now about this unnamed stitch that we're about to use the slow gear to sew. And we don't want to have a riot. We don't want to see Swedish people rioting. It's ugly. It's scary. We don't want it. We don't want it. So Christine, help us out, would you? As our Canadian ambassador going to Sweden, and, let's not have a riot. Let's not have a riot here, okay? Please. Please. All right. No idea what we're doing. All right. We're going to try it anyway. All right, here we go. We're going to try to go through saddle grade leather with the slow gear, and we're going to be doing the unnamed stitch. That's what we're going to try to do anyway. All right. Keep your fingers and toes crossed. Yes. Let's cross our toes and fingers right now. All right, here we go. As soon as I get my foot on the foot controller, I feel like I'm too close. It's like playing piano. It's like playing piano. My bench is too close to the keys. I got to adjust it, doggone it. I got to adjust it. All right, here we go. Yep. 1, 2, 3, go. I love it. All right, I'm rotating it back down. Hold on a second. Almost got it. All right, needle is down. I'm going to raise my presser foot now. Try to turn. Oh, that is some pretty stitching. Look at that. Give this a clip. All right, I think I got it lined up fairly well. Presser foot back down. Let us resume. Someone give me like a countdown from like 3, 2, 1 in the live chat, would you? Somebody give me a countdown from 3, 2, 1 in the live chat, and I'll go ahead and launch. I'll try to launch on 1 or 0 or whatever. Give me a 1 or a 0. I don't care. 3, 2, 1, 0, blah, 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 and then I'll launch, okay? All right, I'm waiting for it. Somebody, come on, help me out. I'm looking at the live chat. No one's counting. No one's counting. Come on, somebody count. 3, 2, 1. Come on, guys. Come on. Jump in. Tell me. Yes. What is that? 3, 2, 1, 0? Come on, you guys. You got to do it individually. Like 3, enter. 2, enter. 1, enter. 0. And come on, do it like a real countdown, you guys. Come on. Come on. Haven't you guys ever done a countdown before? What the heck? Yes. Yes. Oh, wait a second. I forgot to go back to the slow gear. I'm crazy. What's going on? All right, back to the slow gear now. Ha. And what I'm doing right now off camera is I'm taking the slow gear off because, again, when you're using the slow gear, it locks the balance wheel. You can't turn it, the balance wheel, when the slow gear is engaged. So I'm taking the slow gear out, and then I can rotate the balance wheel so I can rotate that needle down into the material so I can swing it around to do that last little length right there. I'll bring it around to give you a view of this. Oh my goodness, is this gorgeous or what? Look at those. That is just like, what? What? Absolutely amazing. Absolutely. What? Amazing. What? Amazing. What? Yeah, I know. All right, so let me put that presser foot back down. And this time I'll remember to engage the slow gear again. All right. Slow gear is engaged. Let's finish off this last little line right here of these incredible stitches. Well, it went the wrong way. There we go. The last little line of these incredible stitches. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that just, I've got to send this to Christopher in Bronx, New York, but you probably are all saying, hey, can you sew one of these for us? Can you sew one of these for us? And can you sew another one and send it to the people in Sweden so that they can actually have an actual sew off on saddle grade leather with the unnamed stitch? Yeah, we got to do that, you guys. We got to do it. We got to do it. Yeah. All right, here we go. Almost got it. I'm so close. I think I made it all the way to the end. I think I made it all the way. Maybe. Oh, yeah, that's something right there. That's a little bit of pretty. That's a little bit of pretty right there. Let me give it a clip. Get my hands out of the way. I almost unthreaded the machine. I was so excited. All right, I'll get it. I'll get it. The hands are really dry. All right, there we got it back. Yes. So this is our top stitch right here. Yep, I was double checking. That's our top stitch right there. Absolutely spectacular stitching. Very, very nice. Kind of turn it around so you can see it from different angles. And that shows you right there. That shows you the benefit, the huge benefit of the slow gear that has been a part of the Green Machine family going all the way back to the Class 20s that were introduced in the 1940s. The slow gear is not something that came with a Class 21 like some people write on Facebook. It actually started with the Class 20s back in the 1940s, along with the jam-free raceway and a number of other features that are very, very unique to the Husqvarna Green Machines. Absolutely lovely. Let's look at the lock stitch now. No difference. Beautiful lock stitching as well. And you can see it popping through there on the nap of that saddle gray leather. Absolutely lovely, 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 lovely stuff. Very, very nice. Very, very nice. Let me see what our time is on the live stream. Hold on a second. So we are approaching 3 hours on the live stream. And again, I've got to be mindful of, oh, I actually took that out of the threader. There we go. We've got to be mindful of the fact that I've got some customers arriving pretty quick here. So I would love to sew around again and do another stitch on this saddle gray leather, but I'm gonna skip it. I'm gonna skip it because I've got to watch my time now. I didn't realize we're coming up on 1 o'clock, which is when the customers are arriving here at 1 o'clock Central Time, which is only about 20 minutes from now. I've got customers arriving at the workshop and I've got to get ready for that. So we're done with the saddle gray leather. Beautiful unnamed stitch. Beautiful unnamed stitch. And now we're going to do our final sew off for this live stream using this Naugahyde stuff. And I think that Kathy, correct me if I'm wrong, Kathy or someone else had written that they wanted to see the scallop stitch on this Naugahyde material. Am I right about that? Did I remember correctly? While you're telling me if I got it right, I'm going to quickly show you what we've done on this live stream. Let me move this Naugahyde to the side. So we did a single layer of protected full grain leather, laid down a beautiful unnamed stitch, top stitch, lock stitch, absolutely spot on. Then we did all of this stitching on this 100% cotton material. We went from a straight stitch to a zigzag to a whatever stitch to a 3-point zigzag to an unnamed stitch, and then finally to this scallop style stitch here that's all the way in position 1 on cam A. So if you want to do this on your Swedish Beauty with a cam A, it's going to be in position 1. So I think that's what Kathy or someone else said. Do the scallop stitch on the Naugahyde material. I'm pretty sure, pretty doggone sure. And then we just did this one right here, which is Amazing! Amazing. Saddle gray leather. We did the unnamed stitch, which is absolutely spectacular. Top stitch, lock stitch, off the charts. Oh, I didn't show this one. Stitch. That's our lock stitch on the 100% cotton. Also amazing. Amazing. Protected full grain leather. Amazing. And then we also did these two layers of saddle gray leather, and we laid down that zigzag that that y'all wanted to see. And again, look at the thickness of what we went through with that saddle gray leather. Crazy. Crazy. What? Yes. Throw that to the back. So I'm going to look at the live chat. I'm pretty sure it was a scallop on this stuff. Let me check. Yeah. Let's not, guys. Let's be unified. Let's be a unified force here. Emma and Christine and others were going to research. They were going to research. They were going to use their power of research to come up with a name for this stitch. This stitch right here, you see on the saddle gray leather, and you see also right there, you see it on the 100% cotton. Let's not give it a name, because then we're definitely going to cause a riot in Sweden. There's going to be a riot in Sweden if all of a sudden we name it and somehow maybe our research is flawed and we give it the wrong name. And then the Swedish people are like, not only did you call it an unnamed stitch, but now you called it by the wrong name. This is, Christine, do you see how valuable your role is working within the Cow Country United Nations? You could stop World War III here. I don't know if the Swedish people have nukes or not. I hope they don't. But at any rate, yeah, God bless Christine. God bless Christine for saving us from a potential World War III. I mean, it could happen. It could happen. Yeah. Wow. The power of our family. Unbelievable. Nuts. Okay. So let's do this. I got to stop gabbing because my customers are here in about 19 minutes. So we're going to do the Naga hide now. And with the Naga hide, and I learned this from a previous live stream, I would love to put them like back to back like this, but then I get really, really poor feed and traction. So I'm going to put them like this facing the same way. So we're going to have to look at that stitch, that scallop stitch. We're going to have to look at that scallop stitch on this side over here. All right, let me get these into position. I'm going to go right down the goalposts. Right there. I'll use my little fancy clips that Paula Noel sent me. Those right there, right about there. Hopefully my needle bar clamp clears that. Otherwise, I'm going to break one of my little things. So, all right, let's put that one right there. Okay, now we have to set it up for this stitch, this scallop style stitch. So this has to be moved from position 2, which is the unnamed stitch, to position 1 to give us a scallop stitch. So I've got to take my stitch width down to 0 so that finger retracts, and I'll pull this into position, and I'll take this back to 4, and I'm going to leave the stitch length alone. We're right around on 0.75-ish, something like that. And we're going to sew. Let me get your input on this. Would you give me your input, please? Should we sew this final sew off? This is our final sew off. Should we sew this final sew off of this Naga hide with this scallop style stitch? Should we sew it regular speed, or should we sew it with the slow gear? Regular speed or the slow gear? Just type it in the live chat. The majority will rule here. So if we get more saying full speed, we're going to go full speed. If we get more people saying slow speed, slow gear, we're going to go slow gear with this final sew off. So, hey, you know what? Sometimes the family has to agree to disagree agreeably. Sometimes we have to agree to disagree agreeably. Some of you are going to go, well, I didn't want to see it done with the slow gear. The other ones are going to say, well, I wanted to see it with the full speed. And, let's just get along. Family gatherings can just get ugly sometimes. Let's not be ugly like some people are. Let's just agree to disagree agreeably. Okay, I'm going to look at the live chat now. and see what folks are saying. Let's see what they're saying. Regular, 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 regular. All right, we're going to do it regular. Everyone's saying regular. The whole world is saying regular. See that? We can agree as a family, even though Aunt Betty brought that nasty casserole that no one likes with those green things in it. What is that about? You know, we can still get along. We can get along. Let's get along. All right, here we go. The final stitch at full speed, the scallop stitch going through this very tricky Naugahyde material that has a lot of vinyl in it. And our needle is getting tired. Hopefully we don't have any skipped, distorted stitches, but you never know, kid. You never know. All right, here we go. Let's get her done, as they say, wherever they say it, somewhere. All right, here we go. Did I make it past it? I think I made it past it. All right, I'm going to move that so I don't run it over. Really close to running it over. That was fun. I kind of gave it a little bit more gas there. A little bit more gas. Oh, hello, you. Hello, you. This horrible eBay machine is now showing like it's crazy, amazing, good. Just crazy, amazing, whatever. Yeah. It's a happy girl. Boy. All right, let me give that a clip and we'll look at these a little bit closer. 2 layers of Naugahyde. I'm throwing stuff. Very, very tricky stuff. Tricky stuff because of all that vinyl in there. Tricky stuff. And it just laid down. Absolutely. Are you kidding me? Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous stitching. Amazing. Clarity of the stitch formation, the stitch presentation, the glory of the stitch, everything of the sun. It's off the charts. It's off the charts. Absolutely lovely stitching. Let's look at the lock stitch. We kind of do flip it over. Wow. Wow. Beautiful lock stitch as well. I'll show you from a couple different angles. Kind of flatten it out there a little bit. Yeah, there it is. Do a little bit of this. Wow. Beautiful. I'm saying by the vinyl, see how, can you see that? It kind of like, whoop. Lay down. Just, can you be good? You're on camera, for goodness sakes. Come on. Come on. Just, all right, there we go. And again, the lock stitch is harder to do, especially through a vinyl-based Naugahyde material like this. And yet, look at it. The formation, the stitch variation, everything about the stitch is just as it should be. And again, look at it from the side of what we just went through. You see, I see it over here where I'm pinching it together. Over here as well. That's a lot of Naugahyde. That's a lot of Naugahyde. And we got just a beautiful scallop style stitch right there. See that? The Swedish people need to get along with us too and be happy because we gave this stitch a name. Thank God for Kathy King telling us to call it a scallop stitch, because I would have called it something else. I don't know what y'all would have called it, but I would have given it a different name. And now we know that it's a scallop stitch. Thank goodness. Amazing. So this is our final sew off, y'all. We're done. We're done. I'm going to ring the bell. And I'll just show you the stitching that we did again with this amazing 1960 CL21A. With this CL21A, once I get the camera, boom, the right direction. I'm so close. I'm so close. There, almost got it. Almost got it. I'm right. Yes. Ha ha. There it is. Got it. All right, so let me go over again and just show you what we did on this live stream. It's one of our shorter live streams, but I think we still ran it through the paces very nicely. So we did this Naugahyde material. Absolutely gorgeous scallops. Scallops, I think that's a seafood too, isn't it? It might be a seafood, but whatever. So, at any rate, we did the scallop stitch. Lovely, 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 lovely. 2 layers of Naga hide. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Lock stitch. There it is. You kind of can see it. Yeah. And we also did, what else did we do? Off camera. I did this Italian leather, single layer of that, probably about 6 ounces of leather almost. Beautiful, beautiful stitching. On camera, we used the slow gear to lay down this unnamed stitch all around this saddle grade leather. Beautiful stitching. Yeah, I love it. I love it. We also did, oh, I'm missing some. I stuck them in the wrong spot. We also did this protected full grain leather, also with the unnamed stitch. Yeah, unnamed. That's okay. We did 2 layers using our zigzag on these 2 layers of saddle grade leather. Spectacular stitching. And we did this 100% cotton. We went through the whole shebang, as my father might have said. We went through the whole shebang. Straight stitch, zigzag, McDonald's stitch. Probably got another name. 3-point zigzag, unnamed stitch, scallop stitch on this 100% cotton. Beautiful stitching as well. Yeah. Did I miss any? I don't think I missed any. Yeah. So not as big of a sew-off sandwich as we sometimes do. Let me put that underneath there. There we go. But this is what we did on the live stream today. With the exception of the Italian leather, I did that off camera. Yeah. We're going to graduate this machine. This machine is graduating, and I will coordinate delivery of it for our friend Christopher Lockett from the great state of New York, specifically the Bronx. I do horrible accents. If someone ever wanted to call in during the live stream and do a real New York accent, that would be so much appreciated. If someone wanted to do it, that would be way cool. But I'm going to do the best I can for right now and just say, we done it New York style. Yeah. You can do it there. You can do it anywhere. It's up to you. Bronx, New York. Yeah, something like that. All right. We're done. I'm going to thank the leaders for making our family feel welcome, taking care of things, and thank everyone, whether you stepped into the live chat or not. Thank you so much for being a part of this live stream today. We love meeting new folks that share our love and passion of vintage sewing machines, including machines like this from 1960 that did a marvelous dance today and redeemed herself from the ashes of eBay, where she had everything from smothered in black duct tape to having motor issues, the wrong foot controller, you name it. It was a nightmare. And now the dream has been realized through this live stream. So congratulations to Christopher Lockett from Bronx, New York, for picking a little bit of a lemon. I'm just being honest. But she is a peach, a Swedish peach. Is there such a thing? I have no idea. But she is a Swedish peach now instead of being a lemon. So yay. Workshop magic. Oh. Yes. All right. See you guys. Take care. God bless. Wrong way. There it is. Ha. Yes. All right, we're done. We're out of here. Oh, I didn't show this one too. What the heck? I left this out of the pile. This is one I did off camera of all the cams, blah, blah, blah. All right, so that goes in the pile too. There it is. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your weekend. And thank you again. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you to the leaders that were present today to take care of our family and to make everybody feel welcome. Thank you to Emma, Christine. Thank you to Susie. Who else did I miss? I hope I didn't miss anybody else. I think that was our 3 leaders here today during the live stream. And if you're tempted by wanting to get a Swedish beauty that can dance like this without having to go through the uncertainty of buying it through eBay, contact me. I've got some Swedish beauties that are waiting to be adopted. They're waiting to be adopted. So call now. Operators are waiting. They're not actually waiting. You're probably going to get my voicemail, but whatever. It sounded cool. Take care. See ya. It's up to you, New York, New York. Put on. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4,